Chapter 1431. Princess is surprised observing their eagerness. Qiao Xian couldn't help but be amused. She explicitly conveyed to the manager that she had no intention of conflicting with Jingquan Pavilion, which prompted the manager to gracefully withdraw. Strawberries proved remarkably straightforward to cultivate and distribute rapidly. Notably, the seedlings that had originated from her garden had been subject to repeated infusions of her wood-based abilities, and had unwittingly developed into superior strains. One key characteristic was their ability to endure winter outdoors even in a location like the capital, provided proper care was taken. Last year, she had sold numerous seedlings from her garden. Furthermore, individuals from the palace and the Ministry of Revenue had later arrived to dig up potatoes, taking some away amidst the commotion. While strawberries remained somewhat rare at present, they were no longer as scarce as before. Updated by Av. As the number of offshoots multiplied, their prevalence would only increase. The seedlings she had sold might have been surreptitiously propagated by servants, gardeners, and others who later gave or sold them to others. There was no doubt they had already proliferated far and wide. Within 2 years, strawberries would become a common sight in the capital. This year, there were potential buyers for seedlings from her estate. Qiao Xian had informed Songsher that should such offers materialize, they should sell at a fair price. For the time being, they could make the most of this opportunity. Though not as lucrative as her other core businesses, the income wasn't negligible. It covered the various expenses associated with managing the farm in Cloudwater Town. In mid-February, Princess Consort broached the topic of Qiao Xian's marriage when visiting Princess Xuanfu. The Crown Prince is agreeable, but the decision ultimately rests with you. If you believe it's suitable, approach the Emperor. I believe the Emperor will approve. After all, Xiao Yunduan was to marry her, and it made no difference if his wife accompanied him. She was still his biological daughter, and the Emperor wouldn't make things complicated for such a trivial matter. Updated by Inoviji. Co-Princess Xuanfu was both surprised and delighted. Is this truly true? Princess Consort cast her a glance. If you don't wish to, then forget it. In my opinion, we have numerous accompanying nannies, servants, and eunuchs. Madame Xiao is a woman, and she might struggle with the rigors of the journey. She may need to rely on someone to assist her. The radiant smile on Princess Xuanfu's face momentarily wavered. She hesitated and asked, "Sister-in-law, is Madame Xiao willing to go?" Princess Consort sneered. Lord Xiao has said she is willing, or else the Crown Prince wouldn't have suggested it. Princess Consort couldn't comprehend why the Crown Prince harbored such benevolence toward Madame Xiao. Why would he consent to such a proposition? Was she entitled to meddle in a princess wedding? She was unsure how to maintain the decorum befitting a woman. A woman who married into another family should dutifully manage her husband's inner residence and be a good wife. How could she behave in such a manner? She had kept a close watch on Lord Xiao, and now she even desired to accompany him as he saw off the princess. What a preposterous notion! When the Crown Prince tasked her with discussing the matter with Princess Xuanfu, she had expressed her dissent, but the Crown Prince remained resolute, a fact that deeply irked her. Were it not for the need to preserve her dignified image before others, she might have spoken critically in Princess Xuanfu's presence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1432. Such a coincidence. Princess Consort was noticeably displeased when the matter was brought up. She was on the verge of trying to dissuade Princess Xuanfu when the latter happily exclaimed, "That's wonderful. Thank you, Crown Prince and Princess Consort. I would be immensely grateful if Madame Xiao could accompany me." Princess Consort. Have you thoroughly considered this? Princess Xuanfu didn't notice Princess Consort's furrowed brow. With her head down and a joyous smile on her face, she fiddled with her hair in front of her chest. It was apparent that her happiness had taken precedence over all other considerations. Updated by Av. Co-Princess Consort grew exasperated, but her decorum and dignified image restrained her from using forceful language. She responded calmly, "If that is your choice, then so be it. Prepare yourself for the wedding, and if you require anything, have someone inform me. I have matters to attend to and will take my leave. Thank you, Princess Consort. Farewell, Princess Consort. Princess Consort cast a sidelong glance at her, pursed her lips, and departed. Princess Xuanfu and her servant were elated after Princess Consort's departure. Madame Xiao's presence instilled a sense of assurance. The mistress and her servant exchanged excited conversation and laughter for a while. However, Bai Yin couldn't help but feel a twinge of worry. I can't help but think that Crown Princess Consort might not be entirely on board with this idea. Could she be unhappy about it? Princess Xuanfu's smile faltered as she shook her head. No, Princess Consort has always been poised and isn't easily provoked. She won't oppose the Crown Prince's wishes. Besides, I don't believe she is unhappy about it. She remained unaware of Princess Consort's true sentiments, and Princess Consort hadn't conveyed them to her either. She was simply in the dark. Bai Yin was taken aback and quickly offered an apology. Yes. I'm sorry I misspoke. Princess Xuanfu smiled. We shouldn't delay. I will go inform father now. Updated by NOVG. Koshi felt exhilarated and resolute. If she didn't take action now, she feared she might never gather the courage in the future. Furthermore, time was of the essence. Princess Xuanfu didn't possess a surplus of confidence. She believed that good fortune was within her grasp, and she had to seize it immediately. Otherwise, something unforeseen might occur. Throughout her years in the palace, she had observed dispassionately from the sidelines. There was nothing she hadn't witnessed. Today she was particularly fortunate. When she arrived at the 1,000-year palace for an audience, the emperor happened to be available. Shortly after, a young eunuch appeared and ushered her inside. Father, greetings. Rise. Thank you, father. Greetings, honored princess. Princess Xuanfu stood and saluted honored Princess Mei. Honored Princess Mei nodded and smiled at her before standing upright. Princess Xuanfu found it quite coincidental that honored Princess Mei was present. However, this was a rare occasion for her to meet her father, and she couldn't afford to squander the opportunity. Even if honored Princess Mei was present, she needed to convey her message. Father and daughter exchanged a few pleasantries, their interactions marked by respect and a degree of formality. The emperor, in high spirits after honored Princess Mei's visit, maintained a smile and asked, "It's quite a coincidence that you're here today. What's on your mind?" Princess Xuanfu had been awaiting these words. She promptly knelt once more. "I do indeed have a request, father." Evidently, the emperor was in a good mood following honored Princess Mei's appeal. He continued to smile and said, "Speak, it's rare for you to come to me. I won't refuse." "Thank you, father." Princess Xuanfu was elated and prostrated herself. Then, she cautiously presented her request. To her surprise, her father remained silent for an extended period. Honored Princess Mei's expression changed as well. Princess Xuanfu was a little uneasy and forced a smile. "Father, this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1433. Request for an edict, ha 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 ha. The emperor burst into laughter and remarked, "What a twist! Do you know what the noble consort is imploring me for today? She stated that Miss Tian is willing to accompany you to Qingdi." Princess Xuanfu was taken aback and felt utterly helpless. Father, Miss Tian? The niece favored by honored Princess Mei? Despite living in seclusion, palace gossip spread rapidly. She had heard of the rumors concerning Miss Tian and Lord Qiao. Bai Yin and Qingtao had returned to provide her with gossip to alleviate her boredom. Did Miss Tian truly intend to accompany her to Qingdi? Princess Xuanfu found it difficult to believe that there were no ulterior motives behind such an offer. The emperor seemed to find the situation amusing as he said with a smile, "Very well, Yuzhen, the choice is yours. Would you like Miss Tian to accompany you, or Madame Xiao?" Honored Princess Mei responded with a snort and a playful chuckle. "Emperor, you have quite the sense of humor." She giggled and emphasized humor coquettishly, all while casting a sidelong glance at Princess Xuanfu. Even though Princess Xuanfu had lowered her head, she could still feel the piercing gaze, causing her slender frame to tremble ever so slightly. She made an effort to convince herself that she hadn't seen the noble consort's meaningful look. Father, as the envoy, it's more appropriate for Madame Qiao to accompany you. The Emperor is inquiring about your preference. Princess, simply state your choice. You needn't concern yourself with other matters. Honored Princess Mei interjected with a smile before Princess Xuanfu could finish her sentence. Her intent was crystal clear. Princess Xuanfu's heart raced, yet she spoke softly. Father, thanks to your kindness, I spent 3 days away from the court during the spring festival. Madame Qiao was with me the entire time. I feel that I have become quite acquainted with Madame Qiao, and I would like to ask her to accompany me, if that pleases you. Honored Princess Mei's once beaming countenance stiffened as she unconsciously balled her fists. This ungrateful child. The Emperor paid her no mind, and simply chuckled while nodding. You're right, that settles it then. Madame Qiao is the more suitable choice. Yes, thank you, Father. Very well. Princess Xuanfu didn't dare to linger any further. Most importantly, Honored Princess Mei's glare was as sharp as a knife. She couldn't withstand it. As they exited the 1,000-year palace, Princess Xuanfu held Auntie Sis' hand, and her legs felt wobbly, almost causing her to stumble. She heaved a long sigh of relief and took some time to regain her composure. Auntie Sis offered a forced smile and whispered, Princess, there's no need to worry. You're the most fitting candidate for the marriage. No one will dare to challenge you at this juncture. Princess Xuanfu nodded. You're right. Indeed, at most, Honored Princess Mei might harbor resentment toward her. In any case, she had no intention of remaining in the palace any longer. If she bore any grudges, she wouldn't let it concern her. Unbeknownst to her, as soon as she departed, the Emperor turned to Honored Princess Mei and declared, Shanshan isn't young anymore. I will find her a suitable family. With a sigh, Honored Princess Mei responded with a half-truth and half-fake smile. This is the will of fate. No one can compare to the Emperor's first choice. The Emperor smiled helplessly. That girl is far too stubborn. You should persuade her. Her recent remarks were absurd. She's still a young girl, and even though she will be accompanying the princess, Minister Qiao is the envoy. It's not appropriate for her to act in this manner. Why must you meddle with her? Honored Princess Mei was taken aback. She recognized that the Emperor's words reflected his disapproval. Swiftly she responded, Yes, I have indeed spoiled her too much. Reflecting on it, it's my fault. I will make sure to persuade her. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1434. Furious, the Emperor expressed his satisfaction with a nod. Choose a suitable family for her, and he'll provide a marriage and dowry. Honored Princess Mei couldn't contain her joy and giggled. I'll remember your words, Emperor. On behalf of Shanshan, I express my gratitude to you. The Emperor laughed heartily. I hold a special place in my heart for that girl too. Honored Princess Mei continued to shower the Emperor with flattering words, making him laugh even more. He was in high spirits. This was precisely why the Emperor favored Honored Princess Mei the most. Even if she occasionally acted unreasonably or was rude to the Queen, he turned a blind eye to it. Honored Princess Mei had a unique talent for tactfulness. Being with her was always comfortable and carefree. As long as he was in good spirits, he cared little about the suffering of others. That evening, Honored Princess Mei sent a message to Princess Xuanfu, requesting her not to disclose Tian Shanshan's plan to accompany her to the wedding to anyone. Princess Xuanfu readily agreed, as she hadn't intended to reveal it in the first place. Upon receiving the confirmation, Qiao Xian finally felt at ease. She was preparing to depart in a few days, having already packed her clothes and belongings, leaving her with some free time. Xiao Yinduan remained occupied. As the envoy, he needed to acquaint himself with various customs and protocols. He had been studying diligently since the imperial decree was issued, but he still had much to learn. Occasionally, Prince of Qingdi sought his advice on Great Qin's culture, and invited him on outings. In the past, he would have found countless excuses to decline the prince's invitations. However, given their upcoming extended journey, He realized it was beneficial to foster a better relationship, so he no longer turned him down. As a result, his schedule became even more hectic. In the Tian household, Tian Shanshan vented her frustration by angrily smashing a teacup. Her pretty face was livid. She had always carried an air of gentleness and elegance, never allowing her temper to flare so fiercely. The maids in the room, overwhelmed by fear, maintained a hushed silence, not daring to breathe audibly. Tian Shanshan's anger was not only palpable, but also mingled with a deep sense of humiliation. Her disdain extended not only to Qiao Xian, but also to Princess Shuangfu. Qiao Xian yet again. In her eyes, she couldn't fathom how she fell short compared to that woman. Why had even Princess Shuangfu chosen her? This was almost unbearable for the typically prideful Tian Shanshan. Tears welled up in her eyes and trickled down her porcelain-like face. Leaning against the table, she sobbed softly. She hadn't anticipated this failure. One day, she chanced upon Xiao Yunduan shopping with Qiao Xian. His tenderness and attention towards her, combined with Qiao Xian's radiant smile, were like a dagger through her heart. The surge of envy felt like a volcanic eruption, clouding her judgment. Intense emotions prompted her to take action. She insisted on accompanying Princess Shuangfu for her wedding. She refused to believe she couldn't win back the man she could never forget, piece by piece. How could she accept losing to the daughter of a concubine who had lost her mother at a young age and lacked proper upbringing? But what cruel twist of fate! Qiao Xian seemed to effortlessly attain everything she desired. Was that woman born solely to thwart her and bring her ill luck? Tian Shanshan seethed with anger. In a matter of 2 days, she visited the palace to confront honored Princess Mei. She barged into Princess Shuangfu's bedroom, taunting her and even pushing her deliberately, leaving a scrape on Princess Shuangfu's palm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1435. Departure. Tian Shanshan's mocking sneer lingered as she made her exit. Auntie Si Bai Yun and the others seethed with anger, their tremors betraying their frustration. They had never imagined that the eldest daughter of the Tian family, who held a top position among the noble ladies in the capital, would resort to such a disrespectful act. However, they dared not voice their discontent. Princess Shuangfu remained silent, restraining Auntie Si and the others from uttering a word. She had deliberately played her part, taking a calculated fall to allow Tian Shanshan an outlet for her anger. Now, even in her role as a princess, she had the upper hand. She should find satisfaction in this, shouldn't she? In the blink of an eye, the day of departure arrived. Prince Nua, Qingdi, and the others were in high spirits. Although the capital's climate and prosperity far surpassed that of Qingdi, the universal rule of not leaving one's hometown applied to all, even the people of Qingdi. The wedding ceremony of a princess was a significant event. The journey ahead was long, and as they headed further north, the conditions and climate grew more unforgiving. The ceremonial guard had to be streamlined, despite the importance of the occasion. Even so, after navigating the complexities of royal etiquette, they traveled only 20 miles from the capital on the first day, setting up camp at a palace in the vicinity, before departing the following morning. They remained in close proximity to the capital, and both Qiao Xian and Princess Shuangfu were acutely aware of the need to maintain a low profile. After exchanging greetings with the princess, Qiao Xian promptly returned to her and Xiao Yunduan's quarters without lingering. Princess Shuangfu made no request for her to stay. The journey ahead was extensive, and as they ventured further from the capital, there would be ample time for their paths to cross and for them to build a rapport. Princess Shuangfu had already made her decision. When they had distanced themselves from the capital, she intended to invite Qiao Xian into her intermediate carriage to keep her company. Great Qin was keen on upholding its image, so her carriage was as spacious as a small house, built with sturdy materials and adorned with a plush carpet. The ride was so smooth that she hardly felt any bumps as they advanced. Xiao Yunduan, occupied with his envoy duties, had a full day ahead. Anticipating he wouldn't return until evening, Qiao Xian decided to have her dinner first. She instructed Li Xia and Li Qiao to retrieve the food from the kitchen. Unexpectedly, just as she was about to dine, an uninvited guest arrived. Upon seeing Qiao Wei, dressed in resplendent brocade with an ornate hairpin, and accompanied by an unfamiliar maid, Qiao Xian couldn't help but admit her shock. She blurted out an incredulous question. "What are you doing here?" Qiao Wei covered her mouth and chuckled, her delicate frame trembling slightly. The pride and arrogance that had once defined her demeanor were now replaced by a more carefree and charming attitude. "Of course, I'm the reason you're here," Qiao Wei replied with a smirk. "I'm accompanying the princess just like you are." Qiao Xian sensed trouble brewing. She raised an eyebrow. "I don't understand. Is it that you don't want to understand, or that you don't dare to believe it?" Qiao Wei sneered, her pride intact. "You're here to send off the princess, and so am I." Qiao Xian grinned. "That's intriguing. I obtained permission from the emperor to accompany you. How did you manage to be here?" Qiao Wei sneered and remained silent. "What's the matter?" Qiao Xian continued to smile. "Are you too embarrassed to disclose it?" Qiao Wei seethed but strangely didn't lose her temper. Instead, she chuckled and said, "Sister, your words are rather amusing. I'm here legitimately, through official channels. I came to greet you specifically since we have a long journey ahead. We sisters can surely get along well. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1436. Qiao Wei's change. It was my fault in the past. We grew up in the same courtyard, and I never took the time to know you. Finally, I have the chance to spend time with you, my sister. I'm determined to foster a good relationship with you, and make up for what I missed in the past. A flash of intensity passed through Qiao Wei's eyes, as if she wanted to tear Qiao Xian to shreds. Qiao Xian maintained her smile. "Miss Qiao, I'm not sure what you're referring to. While we share the same surname, I have no connection to you. Please don't flatter yourself by calling me your sister. We are not acquainted. You can address me as Madam Xiao." Qiao Wei shot an angry, cold smile at Qiao Xian before leaving abruptly. Qiao Xian watched her departing figure for a moment, her thoughts deepening. Li Xia and Li Qiao were equally taken aback. "Madam, I'm concerned that Miss Qiao has ulterior motives. I wonder what she's planning," Li Xia said. "It's quite peculiar. How did she manage to sneak in? Should I inquire about it?" Li Qiao asked. Qiao Xian gave them a meaningful look. "Avoid any encounters with her, and refrain from engaging in conflicts. If you sense anything amiss or observe any unusual behavior, report it to me." To emphasize the seriousness of the situation, Qiao Xian added, "Qiao Wei has changed significantly from before. If I had ridiculed and contradicted her like this in the past, she would have lashed out and scolded me. Yet today, she didn't react. Furthermore, her maid appears highly unusual. She doesn't resemble an ordinary servant. It's possible someone provided her with that position. The fact that Qiao Wei managed to infiltrate the wedding procession suggests this was arranged by someone. They clearly harbor ill intentions. It was likely the fourth prince's faction, as no one else would have bothered her and Xiao Yunduan. In the midst of the Qiao family's Mississippi Li Xia and Likia's expressions shifted, and they nodded in agreement. Before long, Xiao Yunduan returned. Having not yet eaten, Qiao Xian instructed Li Xia and Li Qiao to retrieve food from the kitchen. While Xiao Yunduan was eating, Qiao Xian greeted him with a smile. "If I had known you'd return so quickly, I would have waited for you." Xiao Yunduan responded, "I've arranged things for today, and they'll manage their own tasks tomorrow, so I won't have to be concerned. I can be with my wife early every day." After their meal, Xiao Yunduan said, "I have something to discuss with you." Qiao Xian smiled. "What a coincidence, I have something to share as well. It's possible we're discussing the same matter." Xiao Yunduan appeared surprised and asked tentatively, "Have you encountered Qiao Wei?" "Indeed, it was about her." Qiao Xian sneered. "She came with a purpose and lectured me on sisterhood." Xiao Yunduan grew frustrated. "She was added by the Ministry of Rights, and I learned about it later." "I don't believe the Ministry of Rights would go out of their way to annoy us. It's likely the fourth prince and the Tian family behind this. Wifey, you must have thought the same, right? Qiao Xian nodded. Qiao Wei has changed significantly. She's become much more cunning and harbors even greater resentment toward me. I'm just curious about what she intends to do with so many people in the wedding party. Xiao Yunduan sneered. Who knows what she's up to? Perhaps, even if she doesn't take any action, she can still disgust us. Qiao Xian pursed her lips. She has an exaggerated sense of self-importance. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1437. Be wary. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but smile. In any case, be cautious, my dear wife. Indeed, you should too. Such an individual might resort to vile methods and retaliate. Qiao Xian felt a wave of revulsion thinking about how Qiao Wei had attempted to intrude into Xiao Yunduan's bed. In fact, Xiao Yunduan was even more repulsed, particularly when he encountered Qiao Wei today. She had nonchalantly addressed him as brother-in-law, as if nothing had occurred, which had left him thoroughly disgusted. Of course, he didn't respond and simply warned her. You've got the wrong person. If you try that again, I'll discipline you severely. Observing her flushed face, he felt somewhat satisfied. The night passed quietly. From the following day onward, their journey became more intense. Typically, they covered about 150 miles a day. With a lighter carriage, it would be feasible to travel 300 miles daily. However, given their large group and the need to accommodate Princess Xuanfu's pace, covering 150 miles was already commendable. This owed much to Princess Xuanfu's cooperation. For someone more delicate, managing 100 miles a day would be a significant achievement. As the days passed and they distanced themselves from the capital, the sky seemed even higher and bluer, and the sunlight grew brighter. The vast, open expanse before them filled the eyes with a sense of boundless freedom. While much of the scenery along the way remained dry and yellowed, it still radiated a particularly soothing ambience. Over the past few days, Qiao Wei had not approached Qiao Xian. Li Xia and Li Qiao stuck close to Qiao Xian, ensuring she was never alone with Qiao Wei. However, Qiao Xian frequently spotted Qiao Wei while greeting Princess Xuanfu at noon, and during her afternoon rest. Qiao Wei was well aware of the situation. Whenever she saw Qiao Xian, she would offer a polite smile and take her leave, displaying no inclination to linger and eavesdrop on her conversations with Princess Xuanfu. Princess Xuanfu felt a twinge of guilt over this situation. Initially unaware of the Qiao family's presence, her curiosity had prompted her to have Auntie C investigate further. Unexpectedly, Qiao Wei was also part of the escort team. She paid her respects daily, making it inconvenient to avoid her entirely. Qiao Xian remained unperturbed by the situation. As long as Qiao Wei didn't interfere with her, she cared little about her actions. Even if Qiao Wei did something untoward, she had no reason to fear. Her unique abilities weren't for show. Monitoring Qiao Wei was not a challenging task. When Qiao Xian arrived to pay her respects that evening, Princess Xuanfu spoke with a smile. Madam Xiao, would you like to accompany me tomorrow morning? We can chat. My carriage is quite spacious, with plenty of room for both of us. Qiao Xian had longed for a ride in Princess Xuanfu's carriage, knowing it was crafted by the royal family, and likely far more comfortable than her own. She readily accepted with a smile. However, on the following day, as Qiao Xian prepared to board the carriage with Princess Xuanfu, Qiao Wei appeared as well. With a curtsy, she addressed the princess. Princess, would you mind if I serve you too? Princess Xuanfu was taken aback. Qiao Xian also raised an eyebrow, stunned by the woman's audacity. Princess Xuanfu smiled and replied, I have an attendant to serve me, so Madame Xiao and I can converse. Miss Qiao, please excuse us. Qiao Wei maintained her smile and said, I could keep the princess company and help alleviate her boredom. After all, Lord Xiao occasionally needs to speak with my sister. Why not allow me to accompany the princess? She began moving past Qiao Xian, making her way toward the carriage. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1438. Demanding a lesson, Qiao Xian firmly gripped her and spoke with a smile. Miss Qiao, when did you become so audacious? What's the purpose of flattering yourself? I'm not your sister, and there's no need to be so presumptuous. Qiao Wei's face flushed instantly. She clutched her clothing tightly with one hand, pursed her lips and murmured softly. Why do you look down on me? I know the Qiao family has disappointed you, and am aware you hold me in low regard. I'm not on your level. However, we've been traveling together for some time, and we've spent a lot of time together. Can't we get along? Furthermore, I didn't say anything disrespectful. I'm slightly older than you. I don't understand why I can't call you sister. No, Qiao Xian responded firmly, her tone cold. It's not appropriate. Aren't you aware of the long-standing feud between our families? Are you clueless? Even if you were aware, you shouldn't utter such presumptuous words. Qiao Wei's voice trailed off. Moreover, Qiao Xian continued, you're just the daughter of a county magistrate. When did you become the princess? Did the princess personally invite you to ride in her carriage? How dare you make such decisions on your own? Qiao Wei's face paled, her eyes welling up with tears, which lent her a pitiful appearance. I just wanted to keep the princess company and alleviate my boredom. That's your concern, but it has nothing to do with the princess. If the princess didn't say anything, you shouldn't presume to act or make decisions. Qiao Wei dropped to her knees before Qiao Xian, burying her face in her hands as tears flowed. Madam Xiao, I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Madam Xiao. Their discussion had already attracted a fair amount of attention, and when Qiao Wei suddenly knelt, wept, and pleaded for forgiveness, countless onlookers turned their gaze toward them. Some acted swiftly, glancing toward Xiao Yunduan. Everyone recognized Madam Xiao. Qiao Xian's eyes grew frigid. A troublemaker was indeed a troublemaker. Wasn't she asking for trouble? Deliberately creating a scene in front of so many people to bolster her own reputation and assert her dominance? Why was she acting so high-handed? She leaned on her husband, Xiao Yunduan, who was the crown prince's confidant and the princess envoy. Although this tactic was conventional, it proved effective. After all, why was the White Lotus character so enduring and influential? Fortunately, she had established a degree of friendship with Princess Shuangfu, and the princess recognized her character, which rendered Qiao Wei's attempts fruitless. The remaining half of the credit went to the others. Qiao Xian was on the verge of making a statement when Princess Shuangfu intervened. Madam Xiao, accompany me. Princess Shuangfu signaled to Auntie C. Once both women were inside the carriage, Auntie C scolded Qiao Wei sternly. How dare you? Miss Qiao, you've shown disrespect to the princess, and you pay no heed to your superior. Madam Xiao is admonishing you on the prince's behalf, and you burst into tears before her? How dare you? Qiao Wei was taken aback. Qiu He, who followed Qiao Wei, instinctively looked up at Auntie C. Raising her eyebrows, Auntie C snapped. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and apologize. Qiao Wei's face alternated between red and pale, her embarrassment evident. Previously, when all eyes were on her, she had reveled in the attention. Now, it felt as though those gazes had transformed into daggers, piercing through her entire being. She wished she could find a place to hide. With gritted teeth, Qiao Wei had no alternative but to kneel before the carriage and plead. Please forgive me, princess. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1439. Extremely embarrassed, Auntie C let out an audible snort and declared loudly, if it weren't for the fact that we're about to embark, we wouldn't have let you off so easily. Return to your carriage and kneel for 4 hours before rising. Yes. And if you dare to pull a stunt like this again, it won't end as leniently. Understood. Qiao Wei cast her eyes downward and departed, her demeanor reflecting her contrition. In the midst of the departing crowd, it seemed as if he could hear the whispers and mocking of the onlookers, intensifying his deep resentment toward Qiao Xian. Their departure was delayed for some time, with Xiao Yunduan and Prince of Qingdi approaching to inquire about the commotion. Auntie C provided a courteous but casual explanation. After all, this wasn't a situation to be celebrated. It wouldn't reflect well on Prince Nuanua, Princess Xuanfu's betrothed, to hear about it. In a certain sense, this could be considered a family scandal. However, Xiao Yunduan grasped the situation and exchanged a meaningful glance with Auntie C. Upon learning that the issue was not significant, Prince Nuanua nodded and instructed them to proceed. Before Qiao Xian could clarify the matter, Princess Xuanfu took her hand and spoke with a smile. I trust you, Madam Xiao. During my time at court, I've heard of many such schemes, some even more devious than this. While some people fall for them, I do not. I just didn't expect Miss Qiao to be so persistent in greeting me over these past few days. She appeared quite respectful and courteous. I didn't anticipate her true nature. Princess Xuanfu sighed, smiling. It was now clear why Madame Xiao had severed ties with the Qiao family. By discerning Qiao Wei's intentions, one could infer that the family was far from kind-hearted. Qiao Xian offered a smile. Thank you for your understanding, Princess. There's no need for further explanation. Of course not. Princess Xuanfu smiled. I know your character. The two of them exchanged knowing grins. Meanwhile, in the adjacent intermediate carriage, Qiao Wei's countenance soured. She panted heavily and muttered curses under her breath. Being chastised by Princess Xuanfu's attendant in front of so many people left her deeply embarrassed. Her resentment toward Princess Xuanfu intensified when she believed that the princess had orchestrated this to support Qiao Xian. She's still an ungrateful wretch. Qiao Wei muttered under her breath, her cheeks still flushed. Over the past few days, she had paid her respects to Princess Xuanfu 3 times daily and showered her with flattery and compliments, believing the princess reciprocated with genuine smiles and warmth. Little did she expect that it was all a facade. Princess Xuanfu disregarded her feelings entirely and humiliated her publicly. In her perspective, who did Princess Xuanfu think she was? As for Qiao Xian, that woman, how dare she hoard all the good fortune for herself? To Qiao Wei, Princess Xuanfu was merely a pawn in a marriage arrangement. She seemed to think highly of herself, but once she arrived in Qingdi, her future prospects would likely be dismal. Qiao refrained from offering comfort, silently observing from the side. After some cursing, she gently reminded, Young miss, Princess Xuanfu instructed you to kneel. It would be best to do so promptly. Qiao Wei shot her a hostile glare. Unfazed, Qiao continued in a monotone. Otherwise it may not bode well when you disembark at noon. Deceiving the princess isn't a minor matter. You. Qiao Wei almost exploded with anger. Plop. She begrudgingly knelt, the carpet in her carriage not providing much cushion. She inadvertently bumped her knee, and she clenched her teeth in agony. Tears welled up but did not fall. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1440. Apology. The anguish of the pain and injustice she had to endure brought tears to Qiao Wei's eyes, which streamed down her cheeks. Qiao turned her head to the side, as if not wanting to acknowledge it. This afternoon, when the caravan stopped for lunch, Qiao Wei hobbled out of her carriage under Qiao watchful gaze to apologize to Princess Xuanfu. Upon noticing the extent of her injuries, Princess Xuanfu couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity. Yet, she quickly reminded herself that this person was devious and impure, causing her sympathy to wane. It's good that you acknowledge your mistake. Be more cautious in the future, and refrain from such actions. I don't wish to encounter such incidents again. Otherwise, you needn't accompany me any longer. I'll instruct someone to send you to the local authorities, who will arrange for your return to the capital. The entourage was in an uproar. What about the prince's dignity? More profoundly, what about the dignity of the great Qin Empire? Did they not regard customs and decorum with importance? The great Qin Empire was, after all, a land of tradition. What would the people of Qingdi think of them and their princess? Qiao Wei's countenance shifted drastically, beads of sweat forming on her forehead. She had initially seen this as an opportunity to outmaneuver Qiao Xian and her husband, intending to stage the entire act deliberately. However, she hadn't foreseen that her actions would lead to embarrassment for the princess. While conflicts and rivalries were natural within the honor guard, it was a private matter and shouldn't be aired publicly. Bringing such matters to light would be a source of ridicule for the people of Qingdi. Qiao cold stare had good reason. The princess was evidently infuriated. This made Qiao Wei feel somewhat relieved. Perhaps Princess Xuan's motivation wasn't solely to support Qiao Xian. Yes, I acknowledge my mistake. Please don't be concerned, Princess. I shall remember your guidance and never dare to repeat my actions. My loyalty to you is undeniable. Thank you for your forgiveness. Qiao Wei obediently kowtowed and rose to her feet. Princess Xuanfu nodded and said, "You may go. You don't need to come to pay your respects tonight." Qiao Wei replied, "Yes," and walked away, relieved that she wasn't being sent away. As she left the area, she spotted Qiao Xian, Li Xia, and Li Qiao approaching. Qiao Wei couldn't hide her changing expression, and shot a fierce glare at Qiao Xian before quickening her pace. "Miss Qiao." Qiao Xian blocked her path, refusing to let her escape. "Why didn't Miss Qiao greet me when you saw me? Considering how long the journey is and how frequently we cross paths, it's impolite not to treat me like an acquaintance, don't you think?" Qiao Wei's fury reached its peak, her vision darkened and her blood boiled. She bit her lip but said nothing. Qiao Xian approached her slowly, observing her reaction. Suddenly, she burst into laughter. Qiao Wei couldn't contain her anger any longer. "What's so funny?" Qiao Xian smirked. "Nothing, I just find it amusing when I come across something interesting. I never expected that we'd find ourselves in this situation. And you've never been this patient after I've given you a hard time. You must be struggling, aren't you?" Qiao Wei's breath quickened, and she wanted to scream, curse, grab Qiao Xian's hair, and slap her. She felt like she was on the verge of losing her mind. What a bitch. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1441. Qiao Xian's deliberate provocation. Who do you think you are? You're merely the daughter of a concubine. Do you believe I'm afraid of you? What a joke. I want to engage in an argument with you over the princess. You despicable person. Just you wait. Qiao Xian remained unruffled. She pursed her lips. How dare you mention me when your marriage was stolen by a concubine's daughter? I'm truly disappointed in you. You, Mississippi. Qiao held on to Qiao Wei. We should return. Qiao Wei swallowed her anger and snorted disdainfully. She didn't let it escalate. Qiao Xian intercepted her and said with a smile, "Miss Qiao, can't you take a jest? Look, I didn't get upset when you mentioned me, and I was only speaking the truth. Why are you so agitated that your face contorted? Miss Qiao, don't head back with such a scowl, or people might think you bear a grudge against the princess." Qiao Wei was seething, trembling with anger. She bit her lip so hard it almost bled. She glared at Qiao Xian as if she could devour her. Qiao couldn't tolerate it any longer. "Madam Xiao, you've gone too far." "What?" "Miss Qiao, you could have discussed it with me earlier, but I asked her to stay and exchange a few more words. Is that provocation? You little girl, really need to learn some restraint in your speech. Besides, how can you interrupt when the masters are conversing?" "Miss Qiao, does it mean that the maid now makes decisions between the two of you? Why do you tolerate such insolence from a bold maid? This isn't like you. In the past, you would have put her in her place." Qiao Wei was seething with anger. In the past, she would have indeed done that. No, if it were in the past, you wouldn't dare to address me this way. Qiao Wei felt a profound inner conflict and bitterness whenever she thought about her past. Each encounter with Qiao Xian brought to mind the stark differences from the past. It left her feeling tortured and torn inside. Qiao couldn't help but feel anger welling up within her. She remained silent after Qiao Xian's remark. "Just you wait," Qiao Wei declared coldly. "One day, I will make you repay everything you owe me." "Miss Qiao, you're absolutely right." Qiao Xian smiled. "What do I owe you? On the contrary, I haven't settled the old score with you yet." Qiao Wei's heart skipped a beat, and her expression subtly changed. She was acutely aware of her past actions towards Qiao Xian. if Qiao Xian decided to confront her about it. Leaning in close to her ear, Qiao Xian whispered in a low voice, "Let me offer you some advice. I don't care what you're planning, but it's in your best interest to stop it now and save yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting tough." Qiao Wei sneered, pushed her away, and stormed off angrily. This time, Qiao Xian didn't try to stop her. It appeared that Qiao Wei was indeed hatching a plan. Li Xia couldn't help but suggest, "Madam, why don't we find a way for the old master to send both of them away? Wouldn't that save us a lot of trouble?" Qiao Xian shook her head and chuckled. "It's not that simple. Even the emissary doesn't have the authority to send her away. Moreover, since we're thorns in each other's sides, we're bound to clash sooner or later. If they were to confront each other in the capital, the other side would hold the upper hand. However, beyond the capital, the situation was uncertain. Her strength was not to be underestimated. Qiao Wei had endured humiliation followed by provocation. For several days, she was so drained that she couldn't eat. If she weren't afraid of being expelled from the group, she might have fallen ill by now. With her last ounce of strength, she managed to persevere. This illustrated the immense power of hatred. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1442. The last stop in Great Qin. 20 days later, they finally reached Xuan City, the largest city in the northwest. It was still early April, and spring had arrived unusually late in this highland region. The trees and flowers had just begun to bloom, and the fresh, tender greenery was exceptionally striking. The temperature fluctuated significantly between morning and evening. In the daytime, the sky stretched out vast and azure, occasionally graced by the elegant flight of a hawk. When one gazed upward, the bird appeared as a tiny, distant speck. Xuan City boasted a substantial station, where welcoming personnel awaited their arrival to make arrangements. As Qiao Xian and her entourage approached, local officials emerged from the city to extend their greetings and escort them to the station. After Qiao Xian acknowledged the officials' greetings, she proceeded to her lodgings. Princess Shuangfu suddenly wore a smile. "Madam Xiao, join me in the garden. The rest of you, please don't follow." "Yes, Princess." Auntie C and the others bowed and withdrew. The courtyard within the courier station occupied a significant expanse, but the scenery was unremarkable during this time of the year. It was impractical to cultivate delicate flowers here, given the harsh conditions, and there was a lack of time, energy, and resources to tend to it. Hence, most of the plants in this garden were hardy and adapted to withstand cold and drought. At present, fresh shoots were sprouting, and new leaves were unfurling, providing a somewhat pleasant sight, albeit a bit monotonous. Princess Shuangfu took slow, measured steps with her head lowered, and Qiao Xian followed in her wake. No words were exchanged between them. Upon their arrival in Xuan City, Princess Shuangfu, Auntie C, Biyun, and the other dowry attendants couldn't help but feel a noticeable sense of despondency. Such sentiments were to be expected. Xuan City marked the westernmost point of the Great Qin Empire. Beyond it, after departing the Western Pass, the land would cease to be part of the Great Qin Empire. Should they continue northward, it would likely take them another month and a half to reach the Qingdi royal court. The path beyond the pass was treacherous, causing inevitable delays in their daily journey. Unpredictable extreme weather conditions might necessitate midday stops for shelter and rest, further elongating their journey. They were on the brink of departing from their homeland. Despite any dissatisfaction she felt within the palace's confines, it remained a place of familiarity and comfort, a true hometown. As for Qingdi, what lay ahead was uncertain. How could her heart remain untroubled? In the presence of others, Princess Shuangfu maintained her composure, concealing any inappropriate emotions. She had already displayed remarkable self-control. Princess Shuangfu paused and fixed her gaze on the young, tender leaves before her, lost in contemplation. The trees at the northwest border differed from those in the capital. Their trunks bore rough, wrinkled bark, and their leaves were diminutive. With a soft sigh, Princess Shuangfu spoke with a self-deprecating smile. At this time of year, The ladies and young ladies in the capital are busy organizing various flower-viewing banquets, aren't they? I recall that honored Princess May in the palace hosts a splendid peony flower banquet each year. And it's a source of pride for all the capital's ladies and young ladies to attend. I suspect this year's peony flower banquet will be a beauty competition. Qiao Xian smiled. At this time of year? Peonies haven't bloomed yet, have they? Even in the capital, it's still quite chilly during this season. Princess Xuanfu chuckled. I forgot how knowledgeable you are about flowers and trees. But, Madam Xiao, you might not be aware that although the peonies haven't bloomed yet, the palace's gardeners are already preparing the peonies for honored Princess May. After all, how could honored Princess May outshine the rest without an early start? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1443. Secret Fear. Qiao Xian nodded with a smile. I understand. A sharp eagle cry echoed from the sky above, and both of them looked up simultaneously. The vast blue sky seemed to stretch endlessly, and a majestic black goshawk extended its wings, exuding a commanding presence. Princess Xuanfu couldn't help but sigh with admiration. It can soar so high and freely. I truly envy it. Qiao Xian suddenly grasped Princess Xuanfu's arm and gave it a gentle squeeze. Princess Xuanfu was taken aback, but quickly caught on to her meaning. She abandoned her previous statement and said, I really envy it. It's so powerful and agile. I wonder if I'll encounter such a goshawk in Qingdi. Qiao Xian smiled, and was about to continue when a hearty laugh sounded from behind them. Prince! Qiao Xian curtsied and stepped back a few paces. Princess Xuanfu also offered her respects. Greetings, Prince. Princess, you're most welcome. Madam Xiao, you're welcome as well. Your presence has greatly enriched our journey. Prince Nuanua waved his hand, approached, and beamed at Princess Xuanfu. Princess, there's no need to envy such a goshawk. In Qingdi, we have many individuals even stronger and more formidable than it. I'll introduce you to them. Really? Princess Xuanfu exclaimed in surprise. That's wonderful. Thank you, Prince. Ah, you're welcome, ha ha ha. I'm delighted as long as the princess enjoys it. I must admit, I initially misunderstood and thought the princess didn't appreciate our Qingdi, but it seems I was mistaken. Princess Xuanfu offered a shy smile. Prince, you're only jesting. I find the scenery along the way quite fascinating, and I'm eagerly anticipating our arrival in Qingdi. Ah, Qingdi won't disappoint the princess, I can assure you. Prince Nuanua laughed heartily. Qiao Xian sensed that she might be intruding, so she considered leaving. However, just as she was about to make her exit, Prince Nuanua bid his farewell and departed. Before his departure, he suddenly added, By the way, although Xuning City may not match the grandeur of your capital, it still has a vibrant atmosphere. Princess, you might want to explore it. They planned to stay in Xuning City for the next 5 to 6 days before resuming their journey. Princess Xuanfu was secretly delighted, but seemed a bit hesitant. I'm not sure if it's appropriate. Oh, don't worry about it. Prince Nuanua chuckled and reassured her. Princess, you're welcome to go shopping. We, the people of Qingdi, don't mind at all. If I have the chance, I'll venture out for a look. Thank you, Prince. Haha, you're too kind, Princess. After watching Prince Nuanua depart, Princess Xuanfu let out a long sigh of relief. She staggered slightly, swaying on her feet. Qiao Xian caught her and offered support. Princess. I'm all right, she murmured, her lips trembling. She cast a thankful glance at Qiao Xian and confessed with lingering unease. Madam Xiao, thank you. You've given me a fresh lease on life. Qiao Xian shook her head. Please, Princess, there's no need to say that. No, it's the truth. She smiled wryly. I've been foolish and self-absorbed. We've reached this point, and am still being so melodramatic and resistant. If Prince Nuanua caught wind of my reluctance to leave Great Qin and my apprehension about Qingdi, the repercussions would be catastrophic. She shuddered and closed her eyes, gripped by lingering fear. If Prince Nuanua were to discover her reluctance and resistance to embracing Qingdi, The consequences would be unimaginable. Once such an impression was formed, it would be exceedingly difficult to change it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1444. Long blessings. Upon seeing her pale countenance, Qiao Xian became deeply concerned. She gently took hold of Princess Xuanfu's hands and reassured her. The concerns you had, they didn't materialize, did they? That's a sign of your good fortune, Princess. Your future holds promise. Princess Xuanfu smiled and nodded in agreement. Yes, thank you for your well wishes. And you too, have a long and prosperous life ahead. They exchanged warm smiles. Neither of them felt like continuing with their shopping, so Qiao Xian escorted Princess Xuanfu back to her accommodations before heading to her own residence. Princess Xuanfu closed the door and summoned Auntie C, Bai Yun, and the other servants. She informed them of the recent garden incident and issued a stern reminder. Auntie C and the others were visibly shaken, their expressions changing dramatically. They exclaimed, "That was a close call." If Princess Xuanfu were to incur Prince Nuo's displeasure, their roles as servants would be rendered ineffective. Princess Xuanfu sighed, saying, "We're already in this situation. Regardless of what others may think, fretting won't change a thing. I implore you all to remain composed and well-behaved. And have a talk with everyone, ensure they serve diligently in the days to come, and discourage any frowning, sighing, or speaking of inauspicious matters. Anyone who commits such an offense will face severe consequences. I won't be lenient." Princess Xuanfu couldn't disclose the garden incident to the ordinary servants, but she needed to instill discipline. Auntie C quickly agreed, promising to teach the others a valuable lesson. With Prince Nuo's assistance, Princess Xuanfu arranged for Qiao Xian to go shopping in the marketplace 2 days later. This was exactly what Qiao Xian had hoped for. Both of them concealed their identities and each brought along a maid. They followed 4 guards who were disguised as servants. Over 10 more guards were covertly mingling in the surrounding crowd. They set off in the morning. The architecture in Xuan City displayed a rugged and unrefined quality. While ornate carvings were scarce, the structures exuded grandeur. Some shops were operated by foreign merchants and carried an air of faux exoticism. The city's residents were accustomed to this ambience, but for Qiao Xian and Princess Xuanfu, it was a delightful novelty. Princess Xuanfu, in particular, had never encountered such an atmosphere before. Her eyes sparkled with fascination. The entire day was filled with admiration and shopping. Princess Xuanfu and Qiao Xian couldn't resist making several purchases themselves. They planned to leave the items at the relay station and collect them on their way back. Princess Xuanfu wanted to express her gratitude and insisted on paying for Qiao Xian. With her newfound affluence, she had no reservations about it. Qiao Xian, understanding her intentions, accepted the gesture with a gracious smile. However, this meant they had to be more discerning when shopping, favoring affordable yet exquisite items over expensive ones. They could always shop again on their return journey and select some finer items then. It was rumored that the city offered a wide selection of gems and jade at reasonable prices. With a bit of luck, they might discover exceptional finds. The two of them spent the entire day happily wandering around, even dining at a local restaurant before returning to the courier station in the evening. Given the rules in the Great Qin Empire, and even if Qingdi had fewer restrictions, Princess Xuanfu, as a princess involved in a marriage alliance, lacked the freedom to wander freely outside. Her day out was indeed a rare occurrence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1445. The woman outside the door. If they were to spend another day out, despite the leniency granted by the Prince of Qingdi's words, it would no longer be deemed appropriate. Any untoward incident could be hard to bear for anyone involved. Princess Xuanfu fully comprehended the situation and decided not to venture out the following day. Qiao Xian also stayed at the relay station to keep her company, and they planned to depart in a couple of days. In Xuan City, The day began early and stretched into the late hours. The next morning, while it was still dark in the capital, the sun had already risen in Huning City. Qiao Wei had woken up unusually early today and was aimlessly wandering around the relay station. A sleepless night had left her seething with anger, and her vexation drove her out of bed. During yesterday's shopping excursion with Princess Xuanfu, they both accompanied her. Yet Princess Xuanfu only took Qiao Xian along and seemingly overlooked Qiao Wei's presence in the intermediary. This oversight incensed her to the point of near explosion. Her frustrations led her to unleash a barrage of curses late into the night. These emotional blows had repeatedly left her questioning her own worth and place in the world. They were all on Qiao Xian's side. What could possibly be so special about that woman? She was just the daughter of a lowly concubine, no different from a servant. While she had witnessed Qiao Xian's humility before, the sting of this situation felt particularly painful. A servant approached, and as they passed by her, they respectfully bowed. Qiao Wei called out to the maid, "What are you up to?" The maid replied with a servile smile, "There's a woman outside with a girl. She claimed that the girl was hired by Madame Xiao yesterday, and is here to receive her instructions. I thought it best to inform Madame Xiao." Qiao Wei, driven by both curiosity and a hint of malice, responded with a smile, "Very well, you may return for now. I will inform Madame Xiao later. It's still early, and Madame Xiao has not yet awakened. Besides, I must attend to the princess, leaving me with no time to deal with such matters. I'll go and see her." The servant, without any suspicion, readily agreed and turned to depart. Qiao Wei concealed her cold smile and exited the relay station with Qiu He. As anticipated, a woman and a young girl were waiting outside the courier station. The girl, dressed in worn yet impeccably clean clothes, appeared to be around 14 or 15 years old. She was slight and fragile, with a slightly pallid complexion and dull hair, neatly combed. Her hands were fidgeting, revealing a touch of uneasiness. The woman, in her 30s, possessed a round face, fair skin, and a plump figure. She wore maroon attire, and had silver hairpins adorning her bun. Energetic and periodically peering inside, she displayed a look of delight upon spotting Qiao Wei. Unaware of her identity, after a moment of hesitation, she approached, bowed, and offered a cheerful greeting. "Miss Madame Xiao, are you here?" Qiao Wei sneered, wearing an air of self-importance. "Madame Xiao is currently occupied, so you may inform me of your purpose." The woman responded with an obsequious smile. "Certainly. In that case, please take Mian Mian with you. Madame Xiao mentioned yesterday that having this girl employed to serve her is a stroke of good fortune." Having spoken, she gently urged the young girl forward. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1446. Intercept. Qiao Wei instructed, "Come with me. I still have some questions for you." The woman and Mian Mian obediently followed her into a small parlor. Qiao Wei took a seat at the head of the room, while the woman and Mian Mian stood in front of her. As it turned out, when Qiao Xian and Princess Xuanfu were shopping at a foreign vendor's stall, they encountered a language barrier. While most shop owners in Huning City could exchange a few words, exceptions existed. Mian Mian, who happened to be selling food and carrying a large basket, had stepped in with a smile to assist. Mian Mian was a well-mannered and clever young girl who had been in the business for a long time, and she was adept at communicating. Both Qiao Xian and Princess Xuanfu had taken a liking to her. Originally, they had merely intended to support Mian Mian's business. Upon noticing her handling the massive basket, they purchased more than half of its contents, presenting her with 5 taels of silver without her noticing. Mian Mian was also a grateful individual and recognized that no one in her line of work could speak foreign languages. She proposed the idea of accompanying them around and assisting with translation. After all, she had managed to sell many items that day, which would suffice to report to her aunt. This arrangement suited Qiao Xian and Princess Xuanfu perfectly. Mian Mian had spent many years in this street market and was intimately acquainted with it. Her presence significantly simplified their shopping experience. Mian Mian possessed proficiency in various foreign languages, and could facilitate smooth communication. Moreover, she excelled in haggling, consistently securing substantial price reductions, much to the amusement of Princess Xuanfu. A thought occurred to Qiao Xian. Even if she were to visit Qingdi, she wouldn't understand their language. While Qingdi would arrange for a translator proficient in the Qin language, they were not aligned on the same side. Consequently, he offered her a half-hearted smile and suggested, "Since we are heading to Qingdi, why don't you join us? I'll employ you for a few months. How does that sound? In terms of compensation, it will certainly surpass your current earnings. I'll provide you with 100 taels per month. Does that suit you?" Mian readily agreed, displaying her happiness. Fearful that Qiao Xian might retract her offer, Qiao Xian urged Mian to wait for her while they dined at the restaurant. Qiao Xian hurried home to confer with her aunt. Mian had already lost her parents and had been residing with her uncle and aunt for several years, making her life far from comfortable. She was more than willing to leave, even if only for a few months. Mian's aunt, Mrs. Mao, promptly consented upon hearing the promised monthly compensation of 100 taels. She did not concern herself with the perils Mian might encounter while journeying to the distant Qingdi in the west. Mrs. Mao, however, had one condition. She required a portion of the money up front. At the very least, she insisted on receiving more than half of the sum in advance. Mrs. Mao had calculated that even if they never returned the money, observing the situation and hearing Mian address her as aunt, Qiao Xian could deduce the circumstances surrounding Mian. She agreed to provide an initial payment of 200 taels, and the remaining amount upon Mian's return. She instructed them to prepare for their departure, so they could meet with Madame Qiao the following day or the day after. Gratefully, Mrs. Mao accepted the arrangement. Little did Qiao Wei anticipate that Mrs. Mao would be so impatient as to arrive early the next morning. She brought along both a gift and the money. Upon hearing this account, Qiao Wei regarded Mian with a cold and disdainful look. She mused to herself that a person of lowly status would remain just that, and such a girl was only appealing to her kind. Even if Mian were offered to her for free, she would never desire someone of her sort. Only Qiao Xian would be willing to part with 200 or 300 taels of silver. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1447. Up to no good. Qiao Wei and Xiao Yinduan had amassed considerable wealth. However, Qiao Wei's aim wasn't merely to accumulate riches. She harbored a desire to take Qiao Xian's possessions. This time, she had received a substantial sum of silver from someone, enough to provide 200 taels. Nevertheless, she believed it was necessary to negotiate a lower price. 200 taels? Qiao Wei sneered and cast an incredulous look at Mrs. Mao. "You're just a girl. Do you genuinely believe she's worth 200 taels? Do you think Madame Qiao is so easily deceived?" Both Mrs. Mao and Mian were left bewildered. Mrs. Mao's eyes widened and she stammered, "Miss, what do you mean?" "I mean that Madame Qiao is reneging on her agreement." "What? That's inconceivable." Though Mian's voice was barely audible, Qiao Wei managed to catch her words. Feeling uneasy, she scoffed at her and retorted, "Why not?" Under the weight of her piercing gaze, Mian involuntarily shrank. Despite her firm stance, she reluctantly replied. Lowering her gaze, she whispered apprehensively, "Madame Qiao doesn't seem like someone who would go back on her word." Qiao Wei, seething with anger, snapped, "What do you know? Who do you think you are? How long have you known Madame Qiao? Do you understand her character? Do you possess the authority to determine her actions? Unbelievable. Don't be upset. Don't be upset." Mrs. Mao was taken aback by Qiao Wei's sudden rage. She pinched Mian and urged her to kneel. "What are you saying? Hurry and apologize to Miss." Mian, terrified by Qiao Wei's sudden outburst, had tears in her eyes. She dared not speak, let alone cry, and knelt in a pitiable and forlorn manner. "Miss, please refrain from getting upset. This girl is unable to speak. Please don't be angry. Madame Qiao's conduct is quite deplorable. How could she act so unethically?" Qiao Wei let out a cold snort. Having vented most of her frustration, she was starting to regain her composure. With a disdainful snort, Qiao Wei turned to Ms. Mao and remarked, Madame Xiao's untrustworthiness is hardly surprising. She may seem genteel, but I believe this girl is of good character. Since you're here, how about I employ her? Ms. Mao was delighted and nodded, saying, All right. Thank you, miss. Just give me the 200 taels of silver, and this girl will accompany you. 200 taels? Qiao Wei found it amusing. Money doesn't grow on trees. Look at this girl. Is she worth 200 taels? I only have 20 taels on hand. If that doesn't suffice, then take her away. What? Had it not been for Qiao Xian's initial offer, Ms. Mao might have agreed to the proposal. After all, it was a substantial sum. However, Qiao Xian had initially promised 200 taels, and now that figure had dwindled to a mere 20 taels, which was unacceptable. This is far too little. Miss, could you add a bit more? Just a tad, please. Ms. Mao tried to negotiate, a hopeful smile on her face. Mian Mian was taken aback, clutching Ms. Mao's hand and beseeching in a tearful tone. Auntie, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to leave. Please. Qiao Wei was strikingly attractive, but her temperament was far from pleasant. She regarded Ms. Mao with a disdainful gaze that cut like a knife. Instinctively, Ms. Mao felt a sense of trepidation. If she allowed Mian Mian to accompany Qiao Wei, perhaps Mian Mian should just stay with her uncle and aunt. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1448. Refused. Qiao Wei sneered and fixed her gaze on Mian Mian with increasing resentment. What on earth did this insolent girl mean? She had lavished praise on Qiao Xian in front of her, and shown contempt towards her behind her back. She was determined to hire her. Have you come to a decision? Qiao Wei addressed Ms. Mao with a sly smile. I wouldn't want you to make this trip in vain. Very well, I'll sweeten the deal with an extra 10 taels of silver. If you agree, you can depart with the money. 30 taels was no paltry sum. Ms. Mao's eyes gleamed with anticipation. While it might not be as lucrative as 200 taels, it was certainly better than nothing. The young lady couldn't even make 30 taels in a year from selling her scraps, and this journey would last no more than 2 months. It was a worthwhile opportunity. All right, Ms. Mao responded without hesitation, her smile broad. Thank you, miss. I'm truly grateful. I'll stay here and serve you. Qiao Wei smirked with condescension. Qiuhi, provide her with the banknotes. No. Mian Mian began to sob, clutching onto Ms. Mao's arm and refusing to let go. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Aunt, please no. Let's go back, please? We can return. I'll sell lots of things in the future and earn a lot of money for you. Please don't let me go, I beg you. You. Let go of me. Ms. Mao scolded, pushing Mian Mian away. Frustration overcame her, and she slapped Mian Mian's face while scolding. Stop crying. Do you have any idea where you are? Why are you making a scene? Qiuhi frowned. If you're this unwilling, you should leave. Qiao Wei shot an irritated glance at Qiuhi. In response, Qiuhi raised an eyebrow, giving her a stern look as a warning, unwilling to yield. She didn't want to complicate matters, and she understood that Qiao Wei was petty and lacked magnanimity. She cared only about her present happiness. But Mian Mian was merely an insignificant girl, and it wouldn't matter to Qiao Xian if she were taken away from her. Ms. Mao grew increasingly agitated upon hearing those words. No, I'll do it. She yanked Mian Mian so forcefully that the poor girl tumbled to the ground. Seizing her by the collar, Ms. Mao gritted her teeth and admonished her in a low, threatening tone. Shut up. Cease this nonsense, or I'll teach you a lesson you won't forget. Do you think I won't sell you? Mian Mian's heart raced, and she gazed at Ms. Mao in fear, unable to utter a word. Satisfied, Ms. Mao sneered. That's more like it. Clean yourself up. Miss, it's all a misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding, she quickly explained. This child has never been far from home, and she's naturally a bit apprehensive. Once she thinks it through, she'll be fine. There's no need to worry if she follows you, Mississippi. Please hand me the money. I'll depart right away and won't delay you any further. Madam Qiao. Mian suddenly cried out in surprise. She scrambled to her feet and rushed towards Qiao Xian, Li Xia, and Li Qiao, instinctively seeking refuge behind Qiao Xian. Ms. Mao was taken aback. Qiao Wei was furious and promptly ordered Qiao He, "Give her the banknotes." Madam Qiao. Mian was anxious. Qiao Xian, with a gentle smile, shook his head, reassuring her not to worry. For some reason, in the presence of Qiao Xian, her anxieties melted away, as if she had found a steadfast ally and a sanctuary. Ms. Mao, glancing toward Qiao Xian involuntarily, noted his lack of response. She felt disappointed and a touch of irritation that he had not kept his word. However, aware that she couldn't afford to offend him, she refrained from voicing her displeasure. With a grateful smile, she accepted the banknote from Qiao He. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1449. What you say doesn't count. It was 30 taels. Ms. Mao was overjoyed, her face lighting up with a delighted smile. Qiao Wei shot a triumphant glance at Qiao Xian, her expression tinged with disdain. In response, Qiao Xian instructed Li Qiao to provide Ms. Mao with the 200 taels of silver and cheerfully remarked, "Sister-in-law, you've come early today. Please take the money. As we agreed yesterday, you can now leave with the silver." What? Ms. Mao was puzzled by the sudden turn of events. Qiao Wei was incensed. "Qiao Xian, what's the meaning of this?" Qiao Xian gave Ms. Mao a pointed look. "You may depart now." Although Ms. Mao was baffled by the situation, she could sense the tension between these two individuals. Nonetheless, she cared little about their feud. Her primary focus was on the money she now possessed. Ms. Mao nodded with a contented smile, ensuring she collected the banknotes from Li Qiao before she left. Li Qiao didn't object to this, and Ms. Mao couldn't contain her laughter as she made her hasty exit. Qiao Wei scowled and called out, "You come here." Qiao Xian chuckled. "She is under my care. It's not for you to decide." "Shame on you." Qiao Xian burst into laughter. "Miss Qiao, did I mishear you? Why are you lecturing me about shame?" Didn't she realize who the real culprit was? Although he didn't voice it aloud, Qiao Wei felt deeply embarrassed and irritated by the mockery. Qiao Xian continued. "Princess Shuangfu testified yesterday, and Ms. Mao and I agreed to hire Mian. I haven't changed my mind. Mian is now in my employ, so what exactly do you want to discuss with me?" Qiao Wei was left speechless and seething with anger. She hadn't anticipated Qiao Xian's audacity. With a sneer she retorted, "Everything operates on a first-come, first-served basis. I was the one who paid Ms. Mao first. I have nothing to do with why you paid Ms. Mao, and I couldn't care less. Mian is now under my employment, and I have no intention of changing my mind. It makes no sense for you to attempt to snatch her away from me. Moreover, the aunt and niece approached me willingly, while you sent the maid away halfway. I haven't even inquired about your intentions, and now you're claiming to have been first? Why don't we consult with the princess?" "You." Qiao Wei seethed with rage. Qiao Xian, unfazed, smiled. "If you wish, we can approach her now." Qiao Wei clenched her fists and glared at Qiao Xian with intense animosity. Qiao Xian was accustomed to her behavior, and didn't take it to heart. "If you're not willing, then so be it. As for the 30 taels of silver, I doubt it means much to you, does it? If you're genuinely concerned, you can arrange for someone to retrieve it from Ms. Mao. That's not my concern." Having said her piece, Qiao Xian exchanged a glance with Mian, and then remarked with a smile, "Let's go." Mian swiftly followed. "Fool! Wretch!" Qiao Wei screamed as she smashed a teacup in frustration. She had been duped in front of Qiao Xian, handing over 30 taels of silver for nothing, and Qiao Xian had even taunted her. When she had given her the money, Qiao Xian must have been inwardly delighted. "This wretched girl, I want her to suffer. I want her to meet a gruesome end." Qiao He cautioned her in a hushed voice, "Young lady, please refrain from uttering such words. Qiao Wei gritted her teeth and fell silent. She despised Qiao Xian so profoundly that she could only take solace in the thought that Qiao Xian and her husband would encounter misfortune. Hearing Miamian's words, Qiao Xian consoled her and sighed. She simply said, "How about this, Mian Mian? Would you be willing to be purchased by me? If you earn enough money in the future and wish to redeem yourself, I won't stand in your way. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1450. She was angry those very aunt and uncle might eventually betray her. She might as well follow her instead. Mian Mian didn't hesitate for a moment, and quickly nodded in agreement. She dropped to her knees and tearfully declared, "I am more than willing to follow you, Madame Xiao." After contemplating for a moment, she realized that these words might not sufficiently convey her sincerity. She added, "Please, madam, purchase me. I will work diligently and follow your instructions without fail." Li Xia and Li Qiao exchanged a compassionate glance and turned to Qiao Xian simultaneously. Qiao Xian, somewhat torn between amusement and empathy, nodded and said, "In that case, I will arrange for someone to locate your aunt and uncle. Stay here for now. Li Qiao, take her for a bath, wash her hair, change her clothes, and fetch her some food and drinks from the kitchen. Then have her measured for new clothes, shoes, and socks." She turned to Mian Mian with a warm smile and added, "Afterward, have a meal and rest. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." Li Qiao placed a reassuring hand on Miamian's shoulder and smiled. "Exactly. Madam has given her word, so you can relax and fear nothing." Miamian's eyes welled up with gratitude. She glanced at them, nodded, and followed Li Qiao obediently. Li Xia couldn't help but sigh with sympathy. Mian Mian is truly unfortunate. Qiao Wei's overbearing and uncaring demeanor had revealed her true character. She had callously sent Mian Mian away for a mere 30 taels of silver, without considering what might befall the girl on her journey to Qingdi. Qiao Xian remarked, "Since we've crossed paths, we should do what we can." Li Xia smiled warmly. "That's because you have a kind heart. If she had encountered someone like Qiao Wei, it would be a triumph if that person didn't seize the opportunity to harm her when she was vulnerable." Qiao Xian smiled and promptly instructed someone to find Sun Bai and ask for his assistance. This time, the list included several familiar names, among them Sun Bai and Sun Qian. Upon Sun Bai's agreement, Li Xia privately disclosed to him Ms. Mao's reprehensible actions. Sun Bai then visited Ms. Mao's residence and secured Mianmian's contract without any additional expenditure of silver. 200 taels of silver were ample to procure a capable and intelligent maid, and Ms. Mao, although unwilling, didn't dare to object. Mian felt a wave of relief as she laid eyes on the contract, and promptly kowtowed to express her gratitude to Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian then escorted her to Princess Shuangfu and informed her of the situation. Princess Shuangfu nodded with a warm smile and concurred. Mian is a fine young lady. It is her good fortune to be under Madame Xiao's care." The ironic twist came when Qiao Wei, who had been infuriated by the events, approached Princess Shuangfu. She claimed that Mian was a perfect match for her, and expressed her desire to purchase her as a maid, suggesting that Princess Shuangfu act as a witness. After all, hadn't Qiao Xian asserted that Princess Shuangfu was superior to her? With her being the first to express interest, wasn't that enough? Unaware of Ms. Mao's whereabouts, if she had known, she would have personally pursued the purchase. Ms. Mao was notorious for her greed, and turning her down was unlikely. She seethed with anger at not being able to acquire this young girl. Even if she grew weary of ordering her around, she could always sell her. However, Princess Shuangfu responded with a smile. "Madame Xiao has already entered into a contract with Mianmian's family and has purchased her. Perhaps you weren't aware of this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1451. Relying Qiao Wei felt a deep sense of embarrassment, her face turning a burning shade of red. Her embarrassment was overwhelming. What sort of extraordinary fortune was favoring Qiao? Why did she always lose to her? From that moment forward, Mian became a part of Qiao's household. Li Xia and Li Qiao, being older than her, took her under their wings and showed her kindness and care. Mian was immensely grateful and remained obedient. Later, Li Qiao approached Qiao with some news. Mian had a friend working as a laborer in the horse market. He was strong, diligent, and hard-working, much like Mian. He was also an orphan. Mian wanted to know if Madame could purchase him as well. She was very straightforward and never mentioned it to me. She would hide away alone and silently wipe her tears. I probed and prodded, and she eventually confessed that she wanted to make the request, but felt it was overstepping and didn't dare to voice it, causing her great sorrow. She mentioned that her friend, known as Yi, had previously intervened when a troublemaker was harassing her. Since then, she had been taking care of him and out of gratitude, secretly brought him food from time to time. As a result, they grew close. She's concerned that she won't be able to see her friend again if she stays with you, and this has left her despondent. After offering some consolation, I believed it was best to inform you about this matter. Qiao contemplated for a moment, and then smiled. Very well, I'll acquire him as well. Guardson, please revisit and make inquiries. If he's genuinely suitable, we'll purchase him too. The number didn't make much of a difference whether it was 1 or 2. What was most crucial was that Qiao recognized the need for more reliable personnel. The Yuezheng family and Zhao Shu had talented individuals, but they were limited in number. She couldn't rely solely on others for everything. If she discovered someone suitable and nurtured them, they would become her right-hand people in the future. Li Xia concurred and promptly went to find Sun Bai. Since their departure was scheduled for the day after tomorrow, Sun Bai headed to Shima City on the same day. Upon his return in the evening, he brought with him a 17-year-old young man, tall and slender, with pronounced features and a silent demeanor. This was Yi. When Qiao and Xiao Yunduan met Yi and introduced him to Mian, his eyes lit up at the mention of her, and the guarded look that had been present gradually dissipated. It wasn't convenient for Qiao to personally accompany Yi, nor was it for Xiao Yunduan. However, Sun Bai offered to have Yi follow him, much to Qiao surprise. Nonetheless, this was precisely what she had in mind, so she accepted the proposal. Sun Bai Chun led Yi along. If Yi was astute, he would certainly glean valuable knowledge from Sun Bai during their journey. Mian was overwhelmed with gratitude and couldn't help but shed tears again as she thanked Qiao. Qiao found this quite amusing, and offered her some comforting words before bidding her farewell. It was evident to anyone with eyes that these two were likely childhood sweethearts. Oh, if it succeeded, she would be thrilled to have played a part in reuniting them. Upon learning of this development, Qiao Wei's anger flared even higher. The day of departure arrived swiftly. In the early morning, officials from Huning City gathered at the relay station and respectfully saw off the princess and the prince of Qingdi. The phoenix carriage slowly exited through the western gate. As Princess Shuangfu gazed at the vast grasslands stretching to the horizon, she fought the urge to look back, her eyes moistening with unshed tears. Their journey proceeded smoothly. However, after a few days of travel, they found themselves departing from the well-trodden paths, causing the pace of their journey to naturally slow down. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1452. Arriving at Qingdi. Luckily, the weather at this time of the year was quite favorable, gradually warming with each passing day. Sprouts of grass covered the land, and in some areas, there were expansive patches of beautiful wildflowers in full bloom. While the people from Great Qin found this breathtakingly beautiful, on their journey, even though they had to set up tents every night, and their accommodations were simple and austere, and their meals were modest, they found it to be an unforgettable experience. They had no regrets as long as they remained safe. The princess' marriage was a significant event, and their journey to Qingdi was expected to be very safe. Qiao and Xiao Yunduan were well aware of this. They didn't believe that even the fourth prince would be foolish enough to attempt anything illicit during the trip there, But the journey back held more uncertainty. By the time they reached Qingdi, it was already the 12th of June. Qingdi's city walls appeared rugged and unrefined. The mud walls, eroded by the elements, had taken on a mottled appearance and were showing signs of deterioration. The city walls were not particularly tall, embodying a casual and unconcerned air. Qingdi was known for its bravery and martial prowess. They had constructed the imperial city with convenience in mind rather than defense. In the event of an enemy invasion, they believed it was more advantageous to engage in open combat than to defend the city. The arrival of Princess Xuanfu brought a momentary liveliness to the royal city. Countless commoners crowded along the streets to catch a glimpse of the spectacle. Engaging in animated discussions in a language incomprehensible to outsiders, people pointed and stared in curiosity at the Qin prince's conveyance. The people of Qingdi lacked rigid rules and protocols. The scene was chaotic and uproarious. Onlookers nearly blocked the road, and they seemed on the verge of swarming the prince's phoenix carriage, creating considerable difficulty for the procession's progress. Prince Nuanua didn't seem to find this situation unusual. In fact, he appeared rather pleased with the commotion, laughing heartily, his smile never fading from his face. Unbeknownst to him, within the carriage, Princess Xuanfu had already turned pale from fear and unease. She was struggling to contain her anxiety, fearful that Prince Nuanua might insist on lifting the curtain for all to see. This was utterly beyond her comprehension. Were these commoners really this impolite? Was Qingdi so uncouth? Having grown up in the palace with strict rules and etiquette, she had never encountered such a situation before. Qiao Xian gently held her hand and explained with a warm smile. Princess, they mean no harm. They're merely curious and eager to catch a glimpse of you and the empire, which is why they're so enthusiastic. Princess, you're familiar with the principle of when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Please don't take it to heart. Princess Xuanfu's complexion had paled, and she forced a smile, replying in a hushed tone. I understand, Madame Xiao. Yet understanding was one thing. Putting it into practice was quite another. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. It was a straightforward saying, but adhering to it wasn't always easy. Taking a deep breath, Princess Xuanfu recognized that, no matter how challenging it might be, she had no choice but to adapt to the local customs. They entered the imperial city around noon, arriving at the palace nearly by nightfall. Xiao Yunduan had also been accommodated in the palace by the Qingdi princes and ministers, who provided temporary lodgings for them. The Qingdi royal family warmly welcomed Princess Xuanfu and the others. That evening, they held a grand bonfire celebration. The participants sang and danced, and after slaughtering cattle and sheep, they skewered large portions of meat over the fire to roast. In addition, large cuts of meat were thrown into a massive pot, almost 2 meters wide, and roughly stewed. The meat was then ladled onto a large platter, and people served themselves using their hands, dipping the meat into a powdery seasoning mixture. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1453. Impact. Princess Xuanfu's finely embroidered palace dress was clearly unsuitable, and she had already changed into the attire of the Qingdi nobility. Accompanied by Qiao Xian and Auntie Si, she engaged in conversations with the noble ladies of Qingdi. Even though Qingdi had arranged for servants who could speak the Great Qin language to assist them, communication between the two sides remained somewhat challenging. Thankfully, the ambience at the gathering was genuinely festive. Communication difficulties mattered less when the atmosphere was lively and joyous. Throughout the night, Princess Xuanfu appeared awkward and reserved. Qiao Wei, too, was a bit intimidated by the exuberance of the Qingdi people. However, Qiao Xian stood out from the rest. Having come from the modern world, she had no qualms about mingling with people of the opposite sex. It was common for men and women to socialize on the beach during the summer in her world. While Qingdi's enthusiasm might be overwhelming to others, it meant nothing to Qiao Xian. With Qiao Xian's presence, she provided Princess Xuanfu with comfort and guidance, helping her navigate the situation. In the end, they made it through the night. Once she returned to her lodgings, Princess Xuanfu struggled to keep her composure. her knees threatening to give way as she almost tumbled to the floor. The shock she had experienced that evening had overturned her understanding of the world and shattered her previous upbringing. Upon seeing her ashen face, Qiao Xian didn't linger. She offered consoling words and took her leave. The moment Qiao Xian departed, Princess Xuanfu seemed to lose all her strength, collapsing onto the bed in tears. She sobbed uncontrollably. Auntie Sis' heart ached. Her own worldview had been shattered, so she empathized with the prince's distress. She sent everyone else away, instructing Bai Yin and the others to stand guard outside and report any visitors promptly. She settled beside Princess Xuanfu and tenderly stroked her trembling shoulders, offering solace and support. After a while, Princess Xuanfu's tears gradually subsided. She sat up, her eyes swollen from crying, and choked out, "Aunt, from now on, we'll have to endure together in the future." Auntie Sis' heart ached, but simultaneously, she felt a sense of gratification. She was relieved that Princess Xuanfu had not rejected her. "Princess, you will certainly be all right. We will undoubtedly be fine." Princess Xuanfu responded with a soft hum, and tears welled up in her eyes once more. Auntie C managed a smile and commented, "I've noticed that Qingdi's capital is so lively and vast. It's different from what I had imagined. It's much better." Princess Xuanfu gave a slight nod, feeling a touch of relief. If she could live here peacefully in the future, perhaps it wouldn't be so unbearable. The lively festivities in Qingdi continued for several days before coming to an end. In collaboration with Xiao Yunduan, the marriage envoy, the date for Princess Xuanfu's wedding to Prince Nuanua was set half a month later. Marital customs in Qingdi were relatively straightforward, and 10 days provided ample time for preparations. Xiao Yunduan found himself once again occupied with various tasks. Qiao Xian also became busy. Xiao Yunduan often sought the prince's input on many matters, and usually, it was Qiao Xian who relayed the messages. If the princess had any requests, Xiao Yunduan would communicate them to Qingdi after Qiao Xian passed them along. On the day of Princess Xuanfu's wedding, the weather was exceptionally fine. The sky was a brilliant, clear blue, with the bright sunlight casting a radiant glow like a colossal sapphire. The earth was lush and green, with wildflowers in full bloom, creating a picturesque scene. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1454. Date of return in Qingdi. Cattle and sheep were slaughtered, creating a vibrant and lively atmosphere. Later in the evening, another grand bonfire celebration was planned. Princess Xuanfu, now the bride, would be dressed in the splendid attire of a Qingdi concubine, standing alongside Prince Nuanua to receive the blessings of the guests and partake in the festivities. Princess Xuanfu had grown accustomed to this entirely distinct tradition, though it still felt somewhat foreign. Nevertheless, she managed to handle it with success. Qiao Xian instructed Bai Yun and the others to inform the Qingdi locals that Princess Xuanfu was shy. Understanding her intention, the Qingdi people responded with kind smiles and became more considerate toward the princess. After Princess Xuanfu's wedding, the members of the Great Qin diplomatic mission couldn't stay any longer. With the initial excitement wearing off, they found themselves yearning for the lively atmosphere of the capital. The environment in Qingdi was somewhat unfamiliar, and the local cuisine, though acceptable, didn't compare to the delectable dishes served in the capital's restaurants. Xiao Yunduan made a request to Qingdi. Prince Nuanua was deeply reluctant and expressed his desire for Xiao Yunduan to stay in Qingdi. "I wish Lord Xiao could stay in Qingdi. I want to continue learning from you. I can't understand what others are saying, and it makes me sleepy to listen to them. Only you can make me understand." Xiao Yunduan was at a loss for words. He thought to himself, "I didn't discuss Great Qin culture with you, such as the 4 books and 5 classics. I only shared historical anecdotes and tales of famous figures. Of course you understand." If he couldn't grasp it, there must be something amiss with his intellect. "Prince, all good things must come to an end. Additionally, I have other responsibilities that prevent me from staying away for too long. Please understand. If you ever have the opportunity in the future, I welcome you to visit Great Qin again." When that time comes, I will extend my hospitality to you. Prince Nuanua burst into laughter and patted Xiao Yunduan on the shoulder. All right. I'll definitely return when I have some free time. Just wait for me. I'll make sure to improve my alcohol tolerance. Then I'll be able to challenge you properly. Xiao Yunduan smiled and replied. I eagerly await your instruction. Very well, just you wait. Prince Nuanua chuckled heartily. The date set for sending the diplomatic mission back to Great Qin was scheduled for 5 days later. This news filled everyone with joy, and the entire diplomatic mission exuded a happy and relaxed atmosphere. Prince Nuanua extended an invitation to Xiao Yunduan and the others to join him in a hunting expedition. Xiao Yunduan wasn't particularly interested in hunting, but Qiao Xian was excited about the prospect. I was thinking it would be great if we could hunt here. Hunting in this environment will be a unique experience. Xiao Yunduan agreed. You're right. Let's give it a try then. On the appointed day, Prince Nuanua, accompanied by Princess Xuanfu and others, led a large group of riders on a grand hunting expedition. Auntie Si, Biyun, and the others were unfamiliar with horseback riding and opted not to join Princess Xuanfu's group. Instead, 2 robust women with sturdy builds served as attendants to the princess. It was evident that they possessed considerable strength. Princess Xuanfu had only recently learned to ride a horse, and she still felt somewhat awkward in the saddle. She was delighted to see Qiao Xian and, as they rode side by side, they engaged in conversation. However, their slower pace couldn't go unnoticed. Prince Nuanua frequently glanced back, displaying a hint of concern. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1455. Slow down. After their marriage, Prince Nuanua treated Princess Xuanfu with exceptional care and consideration. However, it was quite a challenge for a bold and rugged prince of Qingdi to adapt to such refined behavior. Seeing this, Qiao Xian smiled at Xiao Yunduan and suggested, Husband, why don't you two go ahead? I will take my time with the princess and engage in a pleasant conversation. Princess Xuanfu eagerly added, Yes, please proceed without us. She was still getting used to riding a horse gracefully, and sitting for an extended period left her back and legs stiff and uncomfortable. Catching up with Prince Nuanua and the others seemed like an insurmountable task, even if her life depended on it. Furthermore, the diplomatic group would be departing in a few days, separating her from Qiao Xian, making this precious opportunity to be together all the more valuable. Prince Nuanua had been eager for some action, so upon hearing this he readily agreed. Very well, take your time. Lord Xiao, let's embark on a wolf hunting expedition. With any luck, we might even come across a herd of wild horses. The prospect of encountering the elusive wild horses was met with enthusiastic cheers from Qingdi and his companions. These horses were the most enigmatic inhabitants of the grasslands, known for their elusive nature and speed. Taming them and making them mounts was a feat that would earn them the admiration of all. The wild horses possessed an incredible sense of pride and spirit. They would rather face death than submit if they felt unwilling to be tamed. Some even attempted to capture a wild horse, only to witness it defiantly resist and starve itself to death. Xiao Yunduan wasn't particularly interested in hunting wolves or wild horses. He would have preferred to stay and converse with his wife. Unfortunately, the circumstances didn't allow for it. With no other option, Xiao Yunduan responded graciously. He glanced at Qiao Xian and smiled warmly, saying, Enjoy your time with the princess. Well, go ahead. Qiao Xian reciprocated the smile, and the 2 parties went their separate ways. Prince Nuanua spurred everyone to hasten their departure, his horse at the forefront, whip held high in anticipation. As the group rode off with their whips raised, Princess Xuanfu observed the scene with a soft sigh. Walking alongside her, Qiao Xian shared a light-hearted chuckle. The prince is refreshingly candid. His straightforwardness is quite reassuring. Princess Xuanfu's demeanor relaxed, and a faint smile graced her delicate features. She gently nodded and responded, You're absolutely right. Deep down, who hadn't harbored secret fantasies about their future spouse? Who didn't hope for a partner who was handsome, youthful, promising, cultured, and considerate? When reality diverged from these ideal expectations, it could lead to disappointment and regret. Qiao Xian's words brought her a sense of relief. While he might not be meticulous or overly considerate, there was a certain charm in Prince Nuanua's straightforward nature. At the very least, there were no hidden motives or complex emotions to decipher. Having distanced themselves from the main group, the two of them strolled leisurely, engaging in conversations about family matters, and avoiding any discussion of their impending separation. Occasionally, Qiao Xian would express that he was feeling fatigued and desired a brief respite, or he would suggest that the scenery was worth savoring. Princess Xuanfu appreciated his consideration, understanding that horseback riding wasn't a task suited for women. She couldn't fathom why the Qingdi people held such an affinity for horses, even proudly proclaiming that their children could ride horses by the age of 3. What was there to boast about in such a skill? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1456. Leisureness. The discomfort and pain were almost unbearable. But unlike Bai Yin and the others, who could find excuses to avoid such hardships, she had no such luxury. She needed to embrace all of it with a cheerful disposition, as it was the only way to endear herself to the Qingdi people and ensure a more comfortable future. No matter how excruciating it became, she had to grit her teeth and persevere. As the emissary's wife, Qiao Xian held a special place of importance, with Prince Nuanua's high regard and the king's benevolence. Hence, her treatment under Madame Xiao was undoubtedly favorable. When she claimed to be fatigued and requested a break, both Qingdi and the servants, as well as the guards, had to comply. Even though everyone shared a laugh about how delicate the emissary's wife appeared, necessitating rest for a journey so brief, it seemed she fared worse than a Qingdi 3-year-old child. Thankfully, the Princess of Qin did not exhibit such tendencies. Throughout the journey, they alternated between walking and pausing, traversing a seemingly boundless emerald grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see. Occasionally, they passed vibrant expanses of wildflowers that bloomed extravagantly. Occasionally, eagles soared through the expansive blue sky, and now and then they observed foxes, marmots, wildcats, grassland rats, wild rabbits, and other creatures darting amidst the grass. Low-flying birds added to the picturesque spectacle, creating a delightful tapestry of life on the lively grassland. Qiao Xian couldn't help but feel that rushing through such breathtaking landscapes was a missed opportunity. They should have taken the time to savor the scenery. Her only regret was the absence of her husband by her side, though she looked forward to their extended time together on the return journey. During their travels, they encountered a stunning lake. The azure waters of the lake were so captivating that it left them in awe. The lake's reeds swayed gracefully, and the melodic calls of waterbirds filled the air. The scene was perfectly picturesque, resembling a painting come to life. Qiao Xian and her companions, who had never witnessed such natural beauty, were left utterly mesmerized. The sun had climbed high in the sky, and noon was fast approaching. Qiao Xian and Princess Xuanfu decided that it would be a good idea to break for lunch, and then continue their journey. Naturally, Princess Xuanfu readily agreed with a warm smile. As Qiao Xian gave the lunch order, the Qingdi group exchanged bewildered glances. What kind of delicate constitution was this? She seemed so pampered. She had rested 4 times already along the way, and now she was stopping for lunch before reaching their destination. Though they couldn't voice their concerns, they reluctantly concurred. However, Qiao Xian paid no heed to their reactions. She and Princess Xuanfu were savoring the lakeside scenery, indulging in conversation and laughter. The lake teemed with fish that seemed unafraid of humans. They swam in large, unhurried groups, tempting anyone to take a dip and catch them. Given that Qingdi didn't consume fish, Qiao Xian was content to watch from the bank. Her entourage swiftly got to work, digging holes, starting fires, and heating water with practiced efficiency. Some of the guards ventured out for a hunt, returning shortly with a few rabbits, marmots, and other small game, as well as some wild onions and leeks. Before long, The aroma of roasted meat filled the air. It was undeniable that they were skilled in these tasks, and the roasted meat was especially succulent and fragrant. Qiao Xian, utilizing her wood element abilities, identified an abundance of herbs in the vicinity, including ephedrine, windproof, sand ginseng, and licorice. It left her feeling intrigued. After enjoying the roasted meat, she expressed her desire to take a horse ride and explore the area. Without taking anyone with her, she cheerfully set off. Having left the capital, it was a rare opportunity to venture alone, as she was typically part of the main group. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1457. Wild Horse. Furthermore, it would violate the rules and lead to gossip if people discovered her actions. Ruining Xiao Yunduan's official reputation was not a risk she was willing to take. Hence, Qiao Xian refrained from venturing outside to acquire items. Even during their stay in Huning City, she only ventured out once with Princess Shuangfu, always shadowed by attendants, which made it impossible to gather or deposit items into her space. It was only upon their arrival at Qingdi's capital that the atmosphere relaxed. During their downtime, they went shopping with Xiao Yunduan and Li Xia. They procured some valuable items and introduced them to the space. They even brought back some unique local fruit trees, distinct from Great Qin's apples and pears, such as peach branches, which they cultivated within the space. With her current free time, Qiao Xian rode directly to their destination. There she collected and transferred her favorite herbs into the space. She wished she could find some mushrooms, as they typically appeared on the grassland after rain, but none were in sight at the moment. When she deemed it time to return, she mounted her horse and rode back. Soon after, the group continued its journey, taking breaks along the way. After about 2 hours, they finally rejoined the main group. Over at the main group, activity buzzed with excitement as everyone busily handled their catch. Tents were already erected in a suitable location, signaling that they'd be spending the night here. 3 days ago, Prince Nuanua dispatched a team to set up traps to lure the wolves, and today's results were bountiful. They had managed to eliminate over 30 grassland wolves, in addition to capturing otters, hares, pheasants, and more. The night's feast promised the freshest game. What caught everyone's attention was the discovery of wild horse tracks. The group dispersed to encircle the herd slowly. At a signal, they galloped towards their chosen wild horses, throwing their lassos in a bid to capture them. The subsequent effort to tame these magnificent creatures was a display of intense enthusiasm and excitement that captured the imagination. In the end, after a spirited struggle, all the wild horses managed to break free and escape, leaving none successfully tamed. While the Qingdi people might have felt some disappointment, they didn't harbor significant regret. They understood that this outcome was entirely within the realm of expectations. After all, if wild horses were easily tamed, they wouldn't retain their status as wild horses. What no one noticed was that when the dust had settled and the wild horses had made their gallant departure, there was one person conspicuously absent from the entire hunting team. Later, Yi returned, riding atop a majestic wild horse with gleaming black fur, resembling black satin. This sight left everyone in awe. The people from the Qin dynasty couldn't hide their pride, and were beaming with satisfaction as they basked in the admiration and envy of the Qingdi people. From a distance, Prince Nuanua and his companions gazed longingly at the magnificent black wild horse, which exuded an extraordinary presence with its agile form. They couldn't help but envy Aya's accomplishment. Despite its recent taming, the horse retained its proud disposition. Other than Ayi, it paid no heed to anyone else. The Qingdi people were well aware of the wild horse's temperament, and maintained a respectful distance. Additionally, no one contemplated asking Ayi to buy or trade the horse. They understood that even if Ayi were to agree, it wouldn't matter unless the horse itself consented. Taming a wild horse established an unbreakable bond of master and steed that transcended human willpower. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1458. Happy perhaps it was because their master had a close connection with someone they favored, allowing them to feel comfortable and receptive to that person's presence. Xiao Yunduan was pleasantly surprised by this turn of events. Throughout their journey, apart from trailing behind Sun Bai, Yi had been at Xiao Yunduan's side, dutifully attending to his needs. His honest nature, minimal words, and earnest approach to tasks made him a dependable and reassuring presence. On one occasion, Xiao Xian had playfully teased Xiao Yunduan, suggesting that Xiao Wei had become so shameless that she had tried to get close to Yi when she discovered that he was brought back due to Miamian's influence. Xiao Wei was supposedly attempting to win him over with her beauty. However, in truth, she hadn't made any efforts to use her charms to sway Yi's favor. In Xiao Xian's view, her willingness to express mild concern for Yi, engage in pleasant conversation, offer him occasional treats, or reward him with a few taels of silver was already a substantial gesture. Yi should have felt flattered and indebted to her. Yet Yi remained completely indifferent to Qiao Wei. He didn't spare her a glance, let alone engage in conversation. Qiao Wei, who had humbled herself, was left seething with frustration. Upon hearing the news, Xiao Xian couldn't contain her glee. Qiao Wei's audacity seemed to be growing with each passing day. How could she be so self-assured? This further solidified Xiao Yunduan's belief that Yi was a worthy candidate for training. Not to mention the glowing praise from Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the group of guards, who were astounded by Yi's innate divine power. Thanks to Sun Bai's tutelage, Yi had gained more control over his celestial abilities and developed increased agility. Yi was both astonished and deeply appreciative of Sun Bai's mentorship. Although Sun Bai hadn't formally taken him on as a disciple, Yi regarded Sun Bai as his master. He understood that his present circumstances were a result of the fortuitous connection with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Their kindness had saved both him and Mian Mian, and his unwavering loyalty to them stemmed from the depths of his heart. As a result, whenever Xiao Yunduan assigned him a task, Yi approached it with unwavering dedication and meticulous attention to detail. Xiao Yunduan's satisfaction with Yi continued to grow, and he couldn't help but marvel at his wife's excellent judgment. With a mere thought, she had brought two exceptional subordinates into their fold. No wonder Qiao Wei was consumed with envy and anger. As Yi found himself thrust into the spotlight, Xiao Yunduan reveled in the joy of his accomplishment. Yi had never been the recipient of such passionate attention and adulation, which left him feeling awkward and unsure of how to respond. Yi approached Xiao Yunduan with the black horse and said, "Lord, I'd like to offer this horse to you. Could you please give it a name?" Xiao Yunduan cast a fond gaze at the majestic black horse and chuckled. "You tamed it, so take good care of it. As for naming it, well, leave that to my wife. She always takes a keen interest in such matters." Yi blushed and nodded, a shy smile on his face. When Qiao Xian, Princess Shuangfu, and the others finally arrived, the atmosphere had calmed down. Upon hearing Xiao Yunduan's praise for Yi, Xiao Xian glanced at Mian Mian, who wore a bright smile. She remarked with a grin, "Yi possesses natural strength and has experience in the horse market, making him a fitting candidate for success. It's no surprise that he's been so fortunate. I've always known he's no ordinary individual. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1459. Naming. When Xiao Yunduan broached the topic of naming the black horse, Xiao Xian's interest was piqued. She playfully tugged on Xiao Yunduan's sleeve and chuckled. "Well then, what are we waiting for, dear? Take me to see it. Mian Mian, let's go." Mian Mian had riding skills, which had brought her along for the day's excursion. She outshone Li Xia and Li Qiao, who were now petrified on their horses, overwhelmed with fear. Mian Mian blushed with delight, nodded, and followed Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. Yi's affection and care for the big black horse were evident. The untamed and proud steed didn't readily approach humans, and at the moment, Yi was accompanying it behind a small hillock in the distance. He meticulously stroked and groomed its black, satin-like mane, and the big black horse seemed utterly content, elegantly enjoying the attention, and occasionally responding with soft snorts. Qiao Xian's eyes lit up upon seeing the majestic horse. She expressed her admiration. What a stunning creature, this big black horse. Ai, you've done a marvelous job. Mian Mian, upon hearing this, beamed with even more joy than if she were the one receiving praise. The two exchanged glances, leaving Ai too embarrassed to smile. He explained. Madam, Lord mentioned that he'd like you to give the big black horse a name. Qiao Xian was elated. She exchanged glances with Xiao Yunduan and said with a smile. Certainly, I'll need to ponder it thoughtfully. A magnificent horse like this deserves a name that's anything but ordinary. Mian Mian chimed in. Madam's choice will undoubtedly be splendid. Qiao Xian drew closer to the big black horse, enchanted by its mane that resembled black satin. She couldn't resist running her hand over it. Xiao Yunduan and Ai were taken aback, almost reaching out to stop her. However, Qiao Xian's hand had already made contact. The big black horse glanced at her briefly, calmly swished its tail, and continued to graze, showing no signs of anger or resistance. Xiao Yunduan and Ai were equally astounded. This big black horse had a haughty disposition. It had recently acknowledged its master, and aside from Ai, it had shown no interest in anyone else. Even Prince Nuanua had nearly been kicked when he attempted to touch it. Xiao Yunduan hesitated to approach, fearing he might meet the same fate as others. However, to his astonishment, as soon as his wife stepped forward, she began to caress the horse. Qiao Xian was unaware of what had transpired, but the horse felt so delightful to the touch that she couldn't resist running her hand over its coat. Qiao Xian grinned. How obedient and endearing it is. Xiao Yunduan was at a loss for words, while Ai was equally surprised. As Qingdi's horses served as their sole mode of transportation, Qiao Xian habitually carried pine nuts in her purse. A few remained, and with her mounting delight, she took them out and offered them to the horse. The big black horse sniffed her palm and began eating without hesitation. It even swished its tail in delight, and nuzzled its head against Qiao Xian, eliciting her laughter. She waved to Xiao Yunduan, calling, "Husband, come over." Why was he standing so far away? Wasn't the big black horse handsome and attractive? Qiao Xian wondered. Xiao Yunduan smiled and nodded as he drew closer. When the big black horse suddenly looked up at him, he paused in his steps. Yet, as the horse continued to eat pine nuts without paying him any mind, he silently breathed a sigh of relief and cautiously joined them. He didn't dare to reach out and touch the horse, instead standing by and observing. It was already a remarkable achievement for them to be in such close proximity. They were faring much better than Prince Nuanua. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1460. Close. Qiao Xian suggested with a smile. How about we call it Thunder God? It sounds imposing and mighty. Ai enthusiastically agreed, saying, Good, good. Hello, Thunder God. Thank you, madam, for the name. From now on, it shall be known as Thunder God. Ai gently patted the big black horse's head and spoke with a grin. Thunder God, Thunder God. From this day forth, your name shall be Thunder God. Do you understand? Their shared laughter filled the air. Looking at Qiao Xian with admiration, Ai commented, Madam, you're truly incredible. You've managed to approach Thunder God so effortlessly. In Ai's eyes, taming Thunder God had been an arduous endeavor that involved many falls and considerable effort. Upon hearing this, Qiao Xian inquired with a smile, What's so challenging about it? Ai widened his eyes and nodded emphatically. Xiao Yunduan joined in with a smile, recounting Thunder God's haughty nature, which amused both Qiao Xian and Mian Mian. Qiao Xian gently caressed Thunder God's body, sharing an intimate smile as she remarked, It signifies that Thunder God can discern people and his own kind. His spirit is truly remarkable. Come, Mian Mian, come and greet Thunder God as well. Ai happily waved at Mian Mian and signaled her to join them with a bright smile. Mian Mian blushed and shot him a glare. Qiao Xian pondered that Thunder God's lack of resistance to her approach might be attributed to her superpower. It wasn't inconceivable for Thunder God to feel a connection to individuals with wood element superpowers. She had an inkling that animals were often more sensitive than humans, which was the most plausible explanation. Qiao Xian couldn't help but wonder why Thunder God, who typically ignored everyone, hadn't resisted her. As for Xiao Yunduan and Mian Mian, it was likely due to Thunder God's relationship with Yi. Thunder God was a highly intelligent horse, and since there were no outsiders present, it felt relaxed and open to negotiation. That evening, everyone camped for the night. They roasted meat and enjoyed wine, creating a lively atmosphere. The grassland was cold at night, so even though she sat by the fire, Qiao Xian wrapped herself in a thin cotton cloak. The night sky was adorned with beautiful stars, resembling a sky filled with sparkling gems. It was so dazzling that it felt like stepping into a wondrous fairyland of stars. Xiao Yunduan managed the group, and exchanged a glance with Qiao Xian. He then led her away from the hubbub to a quiet place for a stroll. Xiao Yunduan had a slight fear of Prince Nuanua. Prince Nuanua was an incredible drinker, and Xiao Yunduan knew that if he didn't avoid the situation, he'd likely end up being coerced into another drinking contest. Additionally, in the company of his wife, amid the enchanting starlit night, it was far more appealing to be with her. The following morning, the group enjoyed a hearty breakfast and headed back to the capital. They took their time and didn't split up, as Qiao Xian needed to rest. She paused for breaks 3 times on the return journey, and they didn't reach the capital until late afternoon. That evening, Princess Shuangfu and Prince Nuanua extended an invitation to Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan for dinner. The diplomatic mission would depart for Great Qin the day after next. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1461. When to make a move. Qiao Wei held the same status as Qiao Xian as she accompanied the princess on her wedding journey. They had gone hunting the previous day, but because she couldn't ride a horse and didn't want to be near Qiao Xian, she decided not to follow them. Upon their return from the hunt, the princess and the prince hosted a banquet. Traditionally, Qiao Wei should have been included, but Princess Shuangfu simply wanted a pleasant meal with Qiao Xian, and didn't want Qiao Wei to be a nuisance. Prince Nuanua instructed Auntie C to bring 2 dishes as a reward for Qiao Wei. He claimed to understand that she wasn't feeling well and hadn't summoned her. He suggested that she eat well, rest properly, and prepare for the journey on the day after next. Qiao Wei was seething with anger once again. How could she not be feeling well? Such a thing never happened. Qiao Xian must have said something malicious in front of Princess Shuangfu to prevent her from participating. Princess Shuangfu had made her intentions very clear by arranging for the food. It was evident that she didn't want Qiao Wei to join the banquet. Qiao Wei couldn't bear it. If Qiao He hadn't intervened and stopped her, Qiao Wei would have smashed the 2 dishes. When do we make our move? On the way back? Oh. Qiao He quickly covered Qiao Wei's mouth, her gaze cold. Miss, you can't speak recklessly. Qiao Wei felt suffocated for a moment. She pushed away Qiao He's hand and sneered. What are you afraid of? Do you think someone will overhear us? We're in such a secluded spot, and no one will come near. She and Qiao Xian were constantly at odds, each vying for supremacy. Wherever Qiao Xian was, she couldn't measure up. It was a clash between the east wind and the west wind, with only one prevailing. Qiao Wei was determined to see Qiao Xian trampled underfoot, just as she had been in the past. Qiao He continued to wear a worried expression. Being cautious is not a bad thing. If something goes wrong because of this, it would be disastrous. Qiao Wei sneered but refrained from further comments. At Princess Shuangfu's gathering, the 4 of them enjoyed a cheerful and harmonious atmosphere. It was a perfect setting. While eating, Prince Nuanua's eyes gleamed with the desire to share a drink with Xiao Yunduan. However, Xiao Yunduan was the first to speak. He cleared his throat and spoke solemnly. I want drink with you today, or I'll be too hungover to travel. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Princess Shuangfu chimed in with a gentle smile. Yes, Your Highness, it wouldn't be appropriate. Let's save it for another time. Seeing Xiao Yunduan's resolute stance, Prince Nuanua reluctantly agreed. Very well, Lord Qiao. Next time I visit the capital, we shall drink together. I'll be looking forward to it. He puffed out his chest and declared, Lord Qiao, just wait. I'll best you next time. Xiao Yunduan could only respond with a wry smile. I'll be waiting. Humph. I'll make sure to improve your alcohol tolerance. It's embarrassing to be bested by a scholar. Everyone was left speechless. What was there to compare? The Qingdi people certainly had peculiar priorities. Princess Shuangfu, being a newcomer to Qingdi, felt embarrassed for her husband. She gracefully changed the subject with a smile, initiating a discussion about Qingdi's customs. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were both genuinely interested in this topic and posed questions to Prince Nuanua. The discussion on customs took their attention, and the drinking challenge was forgotten. They spent the evening together until it was quite late. Xiao Xian and Princess Shuangfu engaged in a lengthy conversation. Finally, they exchanged farewells before Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan returned to their own quarters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1462. Returned. Xiao Xian felt a sense of melancholy wash over her. Xiao Yunduan tenderly embraced her and gently patted her back to offer comfort. Princess Shuangfu is already doing quite well. Perhaps leaving the palace is a blessing in disguise for someone as unloved as her. Xiao Xian began to feel a glimmer of relief and managed to force a smile. You might be right. Prince Nuanua seems to treat her well, but she's come to a distant land for marriage. We can't be certain when we'll meet again, so she will undoubtedly feel a bit sad. Xiao Yunduan replied. Perhaps only for a while. Xiao Xian burst into laughter, a warmth spreading through her heart. The following day, as everyone prepared for their departure, Xiao Xian, Xiao Wei, and the others went to bid farewell to Princess Shuangfu. Since they had already conveyed their goodbyes the previous day, they didn't avoid Xiao Wei today. Yet, Xiao Wei couldn't hide her dissatisfaction. Despite the knowledge that she and Xiao Xian were not on good terms, and that Xiao Xian was the favored wife of Lord Qiao, the crown prince's favorite, while she was just the daughter of the county magistrate, she still couldn't help feeling envious. If she had to choose between the two, Princess Shuangfu would undoubtedly favor Xiao Xian. This feeling of being powerless and easily bullied weighed heavily on her. Xiao Wei's irritation was palpable, and she cast hostile glances at Xiao Xian from time to time. Xiao Xian, however, wasn't in the mood to engage with her. Xiao Wei, feeling ignored, grew even more infuriated. Princess Shuangfu, unable to bear the tension, decided to escort her away. Xiao Wei nearly lost her temper, but she didn't dare to yet. Xiao Xian had her share of blame in this situation, and she longed to return home to make Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan taste the bitterness of her wrath. That night, Qingdi organized a grand bonfire party to bid them farewell. Knowing they had an early departure the next morning, Xiao Yunduan kept the festivities subdued. The following morning, Prince Nuanua led his men in escorting everyone out of the capital. Princess Shuangfu did not make another appearance. After bidding their farewells just outside the city, the group officially embarked on their journey. Xiao Xian gazed up at the clear blue sky, the wind and sun on her face. She sighed and silently bestowed her blessings upon Princess Shuangfu. The path homeward held a promise of joy. As they began their journey, the initial sadness of parting dissipated, and excitement filled their hearts. It's finally time to head home. That's right. I've missed home so much. I've even dreamt about Beijing a few times. Me too. We can pick up the pace on the way back and aim to reach home as quickly as possible. Yes. The group was in high spirits, covering nearly 200 miles before setting up camp for the night. During the evening, Xiao Yunduan gathered Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Yi Mianmian, and Li Xiao alongside Xiao Xian. He spoke with a serious tone. With Princess and Prince Nunu no longer with us, I have my suspicions. I believe there may be some ill-intentioned individuals within our group. Besides all of you, I'm not certain whom I can trust. In such an environment, any mischief could lead to catastrophe. Please remain vigilant and attentive. If you notice anything amiss, report it immediately. There can be no delays. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1463. Discussion. Yi and Mianmian displayed evident surprise. Sun Bai and Sun Qian grasped the implications behind Xiao Yunduan's words and shared an unspoken understanding. The fourth prince and the Tian family held deep animosity towards Lord Xiao, particularly the fourth prince, who harbored a vehement hatred for Lord Xiao. The Tian family also bore a profound grudge against Madame Xiao. While it wasn't a propitious time to settle scores with Lord Xiao in the intermediary capital, this moment presented a unique opportunity. Any mishap involving Lord Xiao would be something they couldn't easily explain or justify. Moreover, Sun Bai and Sun Qian were fiercely loyal to the crown prince. They recognized that any harm befalling Lord Xiao would be akin to severing one of the crown prince's limbs, which was simply unacceptable. Furthermore, they had accompanied Xiao Yunduan on numerous occasions, deepening their respect and admiration for him. Their camaraderie and trust were substantial, and they were loath to witness any harm come to him. Rest assured, Your Excellency, I'll exercise utmost caution. The individuals I brought from the East Palace are all reliable. I'll instruct them to maintain diligent patrols and shift rotations during the night. I'll make certain not to overlook anything. Xiao Yunduan nodded. However, don't divulge all the details to them. Understood. Xiao Yunduan turned his attention to Yi. Yi, you shall be in the service of Madame from now on. Take good care of her. Xiao Xian interjected. Let us stay with you. As long as you are safe, I won't face any danger. Xiao Yunduan chuckled. I'm concerned. Sun Qian added. Madam, I will accompany you. You needn't worry. Yi possesses extraordinary strength and has mastered his skills well. With him guarding you, you can rest assured. Xiao Xian contemplated for a moment. She had Li Xia, Li Qiao, and Mianmian with her, which would allow her to look after them. As for herself, there was genuinely no reason for concern. In the unlikely event that something did occur, she would rather have no one by her side. Walking through this vast grassland, they were like pre-prepared ropes. If one needed to tie up a dumpling, a group could tie up a bunch of dumplings. There was no pressure at all. After their discussion, the group dispersed. Turning to Xiao Yunduan, Xiao Xian reassured him. Don't worry, dear husband. We'll have a safe journey. I've consulted with a fortune teller, and the master assured us that we are both blessed individuals. This journey won't bring us harm. Xiao Yunduan burst into laughter and refrained from arguing with her, simply nodding. My wife is absolutely correct. You can rest easy. As long as I'm with you, I'll protect you. He squinted as if he were about to say something else, but then he decided against it. However, he later sought out Yi in private and instructed him earnestly. If a genuine threat arises, remember not to hesitate. Take Madame and Mianmian, and escape using the Thunder God. Run as far as you can. Then find a way back to Huning City, understand? Yi hesitated briefly. But sir, just follow my orders. Don't concern yourself with anything else. Understood, officer. Xiao Yunduan may not have cared much for Mianmian, but he understood that Yi wouldn't leave her behind, so he instructed him to take her along. When it came down to a critical moment, they couldn't afford to worry about anything else. Luck would be their greatest ally. On a separate note, Xiao Xian also approached Yi privately. In case of any emergency, take Mianmian to Lord Xiao and use the Thunder God to escape. You can inquire and find your way back to Huning City. With the Thunder God, you won't have to fear anyone catching up with you. Yi was dumbfounded and did not come back to his senses for a long time. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1464. Dilemma. Xiao Xian smiled. I'm just a woman. What's the worst that can happen if I find myself in danger, or in someone's custody? As long as Lord Qiao is by my side, nobody would dare harm me. But if anything were to happen to him, that would be the real problem. More importantly, she held great confidence in her own abilities. Whoever dared to capture her would find themselves regretting their choice. Her primary focus was on safeguarding Lixia and Qiao. That was the most she could do. Xiao Yunduan found her reasoning sound and hesitated for a moment, scratching his head. Well, all right, madam. Yi pondered the situation and was unsure how to proceed. Therefore, he sought Mianmian's advice. Upon hearing his dilemma, Mianmian couldn't help but sigh, saying enviously, "The bond between Lord and Madam is truly exceptional." Yi was perplexed. He had come to her for guidance, so why was she making these remarks out of the blue? So, what should I do then? Yi scratched his head. Mianmian glanced at the thunder god Torn. Why don't you take Madam and Lord with you? There was no doubt about the speed and allure of the thunder god. No one questioned its ability to make a swift getaway. If the thunder god couldn't escape, there was no need to contemplate whether it could escape or not. Yi wore a bitter smile. I wish to do that too, but am concerned that the thunder god can't accommodate 4 people. Oh, I mean the 3 of you can depart, and I'll stay. I need to assist Lord Sun and the others. Mianmian retorted. What are you talking about? The thunder god listens to you more than anyone else. If you don't leave, can the thunder god leave? Take Madam and Lord with you, and I'll figure out a hiding place for myself. No way. Why not? At most, you can return and find me later. I'm just a young girl. Who would even notice me? No. I care. Mianmian blushed and glared at him, feeling a bit shy. Regardless, I don't want to hear any excuses. Nothing can happen to Lord and Madam. If you're nearby and care about me, then listen to what I say. No. No one will pay attention to me. No one will care if I hide. I won't be in any danger. Do you think I'm so foolish that I can't even hide? No, but it's a deal. No buts. Yi couldn't persuade her, and his words couldn't match her eloquence. He felt unconvinced and a bit unhappy, but he couldn't say much in response. He could only sulkily relent. Mianmian assured him that she could hide, but could she truly remain concealed? Yi knew that Mianmian was a clever and resourceful girl, but she was still a young lady, and what if she were discovered and harmed amid the ensuing chaos? Then what would he do? In this world, Mianmian was his sole friend, and deep in his heart, he had long considered her family a bond of mutual reliance. He couldn't bear to contemplate what he would do if he lost Mianmian. Yi's mood sank, and he struggled with inner conflict, which became evident in his demeanor. He appeared somewhat downcast and preoccupied. Xiao Yunduan soon discerned Yi's troubled state and inquired about it. Though Yi initially intended to keep it a secret, he couldn't withstand Xiao Yunduan's gentle prodding, and eventually divulged his concerns with only a few sentences. Xiao Yunduan chuckled. He sighed inwardly, experiencing a mix of emotions, both a sense of fondness and a hint of bittersweetness. His wife was truly something. How could she respond to Yi like that? As her husband, he should be the one protecting her, not the other way around. I'll speak with Madam and handle it. You don't need to worry. Just follow my directions. What? Don't fret. I have a plan of my own. Yes, Lord. Yi decided that it was best not to dwell on it too much. After all, no matter how much he contemplated, he couldn't make sense of it. He might as well simply heed Xiao Yunduan's instructions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1465. Deliberately causing trouble in the blink of an eye. More than 10 days had swiftly passed. Over the past 10 days, Xiao Yunduan, Qiao Xian, Sun Bai, and Sun Qian remained vigilant, yet they could not detect anything amiss. However, Xiao Yunduan's occasional reminders ensured that nobody let their guard down. Qiao Xian, in particular, frequently employed her extraordinary abilities to survey their surroundings. She did so before their morning departures, during the midday breaks, while setting up camp in the evening, in the dead of night, and during the early morning hours. Yet, her scrutiny revealed nothing out of the ordinary. The vegetation had thrived and teemed with vitality during this time. It was when her superpower was at its peak, pulsating with energy. The expansion of the farmland within her space, which had been stagnant during the winter, was now progressing rapidly. Their total land had increased to about 3,000 mus, and by winter, it was estimated to reach 4,000 mus. 4,000 mus of land provided an ample canvas for cultivation. With the reduced maturation period and significantly enhanced yields, the results were nothing short of astonishing. Qiao Xian harbored no doubt that Qiao Wei and Qiao He, who didn't resemble mere maids, had joined the wedding party with more than simple well-wishing intentions. Qiao Wei's deep-seated resentment toward her made it clear that vengeance was the driving force behind her presence. Each encounter with her stoked this enmity, making every moment unbearable. Recognizing her own fiery and impulsive nature, Qiao Xian intentionally sought out Qiao Wei and provoked her in an attempt to elicit a revealing response. Along the way, Qiao Xian persistently pursued Qiao Wei, who in turn evaded her advances. Though visibly irritated and contorted with frustration, Qiao Wei managed to restrain herself, resisting the urge to lash out in anger. Qiao Xian couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Around noon, Qiao Xian spotted Qiao Wei and Qiao He near a nearby stream, where they were washing their hands and refreshing their faces. With a smile on her face, Qiao Xian rounded the corner, accompanied by Li Xia, Li Qiao, and Mian Mian. Gently pushing Qiao Wei, Qiao Xian took her by surprise. Startled, Qiao Wei let out a scream and lurched forward. Although Qiao He managed to pull her back in time, she still ended up stepping into the shallow water, soaking half of her intricately embroidered shoe. The corner of her skirt also got wet. Qiao Xian, what do you think you're doing? Qiao Wei's anger flared. Qiao Xian responded with a calm smile. My apologies, my hand slipped. Ha, you did that on purpose? No, Qiao Xian replied with a helpless smile. If I had done it intentionally, I wouldn't have used such little force to push you into the river. Why would I do that? You. Qiao Wei gritted her teeth, convinced that Qiao Xian was deliberately taunting her. But it was too embarrassing to voice her suspicion, so she kept silent. What's the matter with you? Qiao Xian gave her a disdainful look, as if she couldn't be bothered by Qiao Wei's inner turmoil. She taunted. You have a twisted mind, thinking everyone is as devious and suspicious as you are. This is your specialty. Qiao Wei's face darkened, and her breathing quickened. You're just a pretender, aren't you? Qiao Xian sneered. A two-faced hypocrite. Gritting her teeth, Qiao Wei warned. Just you wait. You'll see. Miss, let me assist you in returning to change your shoes. Qiao He offered, firmly grasping Qiao Wei's arm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1466. Can't take it anymore. Qiao Wei fixed a piercing glare on Qiao Xian and sneered. Continue being arrogant. I'd like to see how long your arrogance lasts. You're quite familiar with those words, aren't you? Maybe you should reflect on them yourself. Miss, let's depart. Qiao He cast a reproachful glance at Qiao Xian before assisting Qiao Wei away. Qiao Xian blinked, her gaze lingering on Qiao He's retreating figure. Meanwhile, Li Xia, Li Qiao, and the others engaged in light-hearted banter. Qiao Xian smiled and remarked, I'll go wash my hands. Enjoy your rest. The three of them agreed and took their leave. Qiao Xian activated her powers to eavesdrop on the conversation between Qiao Wei and Qiao He. This woman is intentionally tormenting me. She's singling me out on purpose. I can't endure it any longer. Tell me, when are we going to strike? How have you been in contact with them? Miss, please be cautious. The walls have ears. Shut up. I can't stand these baseless excuses any longer. Don't underestimate me. Let me remind you, if you provoke me further, don't blame me for breaking our association. Remember that you're nothing more than my servant now. Anger flashed across Qiao He's face, but she suppressed it. Having witnessed Qiao Xian's relentless bullying and humiliation of Qiao Wei in recent days, Qiao He couldn't help but sympathize with her. Madame Qiao had crossed the line. Her scolding knew no bounds. She was cunning and hit her targets precisely. It was unbearable for anyone to endure. However, Qiao Wei was a sharp-tongued woman with a fiery temper. She had a knack for hurling harsh words and stomping her feet in frustration. If Qiao hadn't offered comfort behind her back, she might have exploded. But even then it was hard to watch. Seeing Qiao continued silence, Qiao Wei grew even more furious. She pounded the carriage seat and demanded, "Speak up already. What are you waiting for?" Qiao felt irritated, but she understood that Qiao Wei wouldn't relent until she received some answers. She couldn't help but feel frustrated with Qiao Xian as well. But who could she blame? Given Qiao Wei's temperament, when Qiao Xian was still just a girl in the Qiao family, she was a lowly daughter of a concubine with no one to rely on. It would have been unusual if Qiao Wei hadn't mistreated her. Now that their positions had almost reversed, and revenge was in the air, what could she do? So, she decided to play it cool and nonchalantly, casually, and indifferently deceive her. After all, this dim-witted woman was clueless about what lay ahead. "If you insist, I'll tell you," Qiao whispered. "But remember, you mustn't reveal this to anyone. No matter what Madame Qiao does, you must endure it. In 3 days, there will be individuals lying in wait within the Black Tiger Forest." Black Tiger Forest? What kind of place is that? Qiao Wei had no recollection of it. Reluctantly, Qiao had to offer an explanation. "It's a forest that has grown for countless years, stretching hundreds of miles. We'll need to cross it when we return to Huning City, a total distance of around 30 miles. It's filled with ancient towering trees, creeping vines, and dim lighting. A perfect location for an ambush." 3 days from now, you say? Yes. Fine, then I'll endure that woman for 3 more days. Inform them that when the time comes, let that woman live. I've had a change of heart. I want her to wish she were dead. This was followed by a string of venomous curses. Qiao Xian withdrew her powers. Black Tiger Forest? In reality, her husband Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others had already discussed it. They were well aware that the Black Tiger Forest was a perilous spot for ambushes, and had long prepared accordingly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1467. Why did you let her in? The reason for their preparedness was that the road they were traveling on was relatively flat, and not conducive to ambushes. With a little extra vigilance, it would be nearly impossible for any potential assailants to succeed. Their diplomatic mission was substantial, consisting of a considerable number of individuals. Among the 300 participants, 200 were guards. The Crown Prince had meticulously selected 30 of them. These individuals discreetly concealed their true roles within the group, but their sole purpose was to protect Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian. Given the vulnerability of the Black Tiger Forest as an ambush site, they had long planned to be on high alert. If the 30 expert guards couldn't safeguard Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian, they would need to call upon a military response. Qiao Xian couldn't help but feel regretful that she had missed this crucial information. It was evident that Qiao Wei was merely a pawn. Those conspiring against her, and her husband clearly didn't take her seriously at all. She was completely ignorant, even more so than Qiao. Qiao, on the other hand, was no ordinary maid. She refused to disclose numerous details to Qiao Wei. However, they had placed someone like Qiao in close proximity to Xiao Yunduan and herself, anticipating their suspicion. In essence, Qiao was just a minor character. Even if they were to interrogate her, it would likely only serve to alert the enemy without yielding valuable information. Additionally, both Qiao and Qiao Wei had officially entered the wedding escort team. Their names were officially documented. Without concrete evidence, it would be against protocol to apprehend them. Doing so could tarnish Xiao Yunduan's reputation as an overbearing and authoritarian figure when he returned to the capital. This was the primary reason why they hadn't taken any action against Qiao Wei. Although the news was better than nothing, Qiao Xian still decided to inform Xiao Yunduan about the situation in the Black Tiger Forest. Xiao Yunduan smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, Sun Bai and Sun Qian will handle everything. Qiao Xian wore a thoughtful smile and continued, Husband, do you think someone placed Qiao Wei in our team just to irritate me? There must be a motive, right? But what could someone like Qiao Wei possibly do for others? I can't fathom any purpose for her presence. Qiao Wei didn't possess even a fraction of the knowledge that Qiao He did, yet the latter was appointed as her maid. From the bits of information Shed overheard, Qiao Wei hadn't taken any actions or even relayed information to anyone. So, what role could she possibly play in this team? Why had she been included? Xiao Yunduan also began to mull over the matter. What you're saying does raise questions. Upon closer consideration, it did indeed seem peculiar. The fourth prince and the Tian family wouldn't have introduced someone into their ranks just to incite disgust. Qiao Wei was nowhere near Qiao Xian's league, so she lacked the qualifications to be a source of irritation. They won't be useless. Qiao Wei must serve a purpose within this team. The two of them engaged in a thorough discussion, but couldn't arrive at any definitive conclusions. They exchanged knowing smiles before Xiao Yunduan spoke again. Let it go, he suggested. Take your time to think it through. I have personnel monitoring them. Whatever their intentions, they will be exposed eventually. Let's rest for now. Unable to devise a better plan, Qiao Xian nodded and relinquished her thoughts. She embraced Xiao Yunduan and drifted off to sleep. In the distance, a dense forest emerged. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1468. Going through the Black Tiger Forest, the verdant trees sprouted from the earth and merged into an endless forest. After half a day of travel, when they were still 5 or 6 miles from the Black Tiger Forest, everyone gazed up and could already discern the dark forest looming ahead. In Qiao Xian's keen eyes, the view was crystal clear. The massive ancient tree stood incomparably tall, and was as black as a mountain, exuding an intensely ominous aura. The ambient temperature appeared to have instinctively dropped by a few degrees. This was the Black Tiger Forest, the sole route back to the Great Qin Empire. To traverse it, one needed to cross dozens of kilometers. Although it was only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, no instructions were necessary. Everyone had already halted very deliberately. They had no intention of entering the forest today. They would camp on the outskirts for the night and depart early the next morning. There was no need to push through the Black Tiger Forest in a single stretch. In such an environment, with its complexity and limited visibility, and set within a wilderness that stretched for hundreds of miles, they couldn't predict what dangers might lie ahead. Leaving aside the marauding bandits and thieves on the grasslands, encountering a formidable group of wild beasts could be equally deadly. That night, Qiao Xian, Xiao Yunduan, Sun Bai, and Sun Qian had a restless night. This was an ideal place for an ambush. If the fourth prince and his associates had indeed dispatched operatives, they wouldn't have overlooked this prime opportunity. The next day, the group arose at the crack of dawn. They swiftly prepared a simple meal and packed their tents. These were deftly loaded onto the carriages, and they set out before the sun's ascent. Sun Bai and Sun Qian dispatched 5 scouts to reconnoiter the path. Leading the way was a squad of 50 guards. Over 100 individuals divided into groups to bring up the rear, while the rest of the guards followed the rest of the party. No matter what happens, do not disembark from the wagons unless Yi is present. Remember my words. Xiao Yunduan grasped Qiao Xian's hands and reiterated his warning before they departed. Qiao Xian smiled and nodded obediently. As for whether she would follow his instructions, that would depend on the circumstances. This part of the forest proved exceedingly challenging to traverse, as it saw very few visitors on ordinary days. Even the caravans traveling between Great Qin and Qingdi made only 1 or 2 trips during the period from mid-spring to late summer. Consequently, the rampant vegetation and creeping vines had grown at an accelerated pace. Given the absence of passers-by for an extended period, the path that had been somewhat discernible was now engulfed by the overgrowth. They had numerous carriages in their convoy, and aside from Qiao Xian and her companions, Most of them carried an assortment of supplies. Moreover, their journey to Qingdi wasn't a simple one. They needed to bring along some local specialties, particularly precious herbs, gemstones, jades, furs, felt carpets, and more. Some of these items had been purchased, while others were gifts from Qingdi to the emperor and tokens for Xiao Yunduan. This explained the presence of 60 carriages in the group. Xiao Yunduan had issued strict instructions, specifying that each person was only allowed to purchase a limited number of items. Otherwise, it was conceivable that the number of carriages would double. After all, the various gemstones like rubies, sapphires, tourmaline, malachite, jade, turquoise, cat's eye jewelry, lapis lazuli, and others were exceptionally affordable in Qingdi. The leather goods were even more reasonably priced. Once these items were transported back to the capital, their value would increase by at least 5 to 10 times. Even Qiao Xian had acquired a considerable number of gemstones, discreetly storing them in her spatial pocket. She had even procured several high-quality diamonds. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1469. Superpower Observation. Not everyone had an easy journey to reach this place, so Xiao Yunduan should not hinder people from making a modest living. However, despite the abundance of resources, the path ahead was far from easy. In many areas, they had to clear a path with machetes, slowing down their progress considerably. The silver lining was that most of the terrain was relatively flat. Even with occasional small elevations, carriages could pass through, albeit with some extra effort. Considering all these factors, this relatively short journey would take a full day to complete smoothly. Everyone was experienced and determined to exit the Black Tiger Forest before sunset. By noon, the group took a break to consume their meager rations and have a few sips of water. Everything continued to progress safely and without incident. Qiao Xian activated her superpower to scan the surroundings, and soon, she detected a group lying in ambush on a rocky slope about 6 or 7 miles away. Qiao Xian's heart skipped a beat. She estimated there were around 40 to 50 people dressed in dark green attire with their legs bound. They appeared fierce and well prepared. Although they seemed like mountain bandits, their discipline during the ambush was uncanny. No one made a sound, and their actions were controlled. These were not the typical unruly mountain bandits. Even if they were not directly affiliated with the fourth prince, they had some connection to him. Since she didn't pick up any immediate threats, Qiao Xian retracted her power. Using her superpower for information gathering was her most potent ability, but it drained her quickly. With a potential fight looming, she needed to conserve her energy for the right moment, so she couldn't afford to waste it. The team continued to make their way forward, maintaining a deliberately slow pace dictated by the challenging road conditions that hindered rapid progress. Gradually, they reached a rocky slope. The slope was strewn with rugged boulders, and its inclines on both sides were notably steeper than elsewhere. The team planned to traverse the middle path, which extended for about 4 to 5 kilometers. The same wild grass and vines covered the route, forcing them to clear it by removing grass, leaves, vines, and obstacles to ensure the carriages could pass through. As they approached the ambush site, approximately 300 meters away, Qiao Xian activated her unique ability. The tree roots at the top of the slope suddenly swelled, pushing out large rocks that broke free from the ground and tumbled down the slope. Simultaneously, she shook the branches and leaves violently, startling the birds resting on them, causing them to take flight in a cacophonous flurry of wings and cries. The sudden commotion naturally alarmed the intermediate team. Sunbai promptly raised his hand, and the entire group came to an immediate halt. "Stay vigilant, everyone. Form up and shield Lord and Lady," he commanded. Their response was well practiced, having rehearsed many times for potential danger. Though the situation was tense, the guards swiftly established a protective formation from the outset. The remaining followers quickly regained their composure. Carriage drivers worked with a few others to safeguard the horses, gripping the reins securely and covering the animals' ears to prevent them from panicking and bolting. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1470. This unlucky the rest of the group swiftly huddled together, using the carriages as cover. The guards unsheathed their weapons, forming a disciplined defensive formation. The ambushers, dozens in number, cursed their ill luck. What kind of fortune was this? A successful ambush should have capitalized on catching their prey unawares. But now, due to this series of movements and commotions, even if the other party hadn't detected them, they must be on high alert, rendering the element of surprise obsolete. Attack! One can only imagine the shock and frustration coursing through the leader's veins. With a resounding battle cry, he brandished his gleaming machete and led the charge. The others, similarly aggrieved and incensed, joined the chorus of war cries, drawing their weapons and charging forward. Charge! Take them down! Engage! Qiao once again activated her superpower, causing a few of the attackers to stumble carelessly, tripping over stones or vines in their rush, letting out cries as they tumbled forward. Some fared even worse, colliding with rocks, nearly shattering their knees, tears streaming from the pain. Onlookers, the brothers included, halted in their tracks, bewildered by the scene that unfolded. Wasn't this a bit too clumsy? How could they be so careless? It seemed like an ill omen. The assailants grew even more impatient and enraged. As they charged forth, impatience colored their approach. When Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and their comrades witnessed this formidable horde charging like a pack of wolves and tigers, bellowing and eager for combat, they remained resolute, though not particularly surprised. As they navigated the Black Tiger Forest, their senses remained keen, anticipating that something might occur within its shadowy depths. Now, with the impending threat finally manifesting, they were not only shocked but also felt a sense of readiness. Upon witnessing the charging adversaries, Sun Bai's lips curled into a cold smile, and he bellowed, "Prepare to engage." Leading the guards, he lunged forward to confront their opponents. Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian occupied separate carriages, necessitating that Sun Bai and the others relay information to him, rendering Qiao Xian's presence potentially inconvenient. Xiao Yunduan disembarked from the wagon and approached Qiao Xian's carriage. "My love, fear not. The assailants are not numerous. I believe Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and their team can handle them." Aze, without engaging the enemy directly, stood guard at Qiao Xian's carriage alongside 7 or 8 other guards, keenly observing the unfolding battle. Qiao Xian, struggling to complete her task due to her dwindling energy, displayed a pale countenance when Xiao Yunduan approached. Misinterpreting her demeanor as fear, he sought to console her. Observing the battle and noticing Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and their comrades effectively holding their ground, Qiao Xian withdrew her power, mustering a forced smile in Xiao Yunduan's embrace. "I'm not frightened. I trust Guard Sunday. Please don't worry, my dear." Xiao Yunduan whispered, "I'm here for you." Qiao Xian smiled, gradually regaining her composure. The skirmish continued for about half an hour. Evidently, the assailants were aware of Xiao Yunduan's location and attempted to approach the carriage, but were thwarted by the staunch resistance from Sun Qian and his team. Observing that while the guards grew bolder in their defense, they also incurred significant casualties, the leader sounded a whistle. In the blink of an eye, the assailants dispersed, vanishing from the scene. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1471. Ill-intentioned Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the rest led the effort to clean up the aftermath, tending to the wounded and providing necessary first aid. The ordinary followers, although visibly shaken, staggered forward to offer their assistance. Their limbs trembled, and many could scarcely move due to exhaustion. None of the attackers survived the encounter. Sun Bai and Sun Qian felt a sense of remorse, but recognized the necessity of their actions. Afterward, they invited Xiao Yunduan to a quiet spot. "Lord, those people, despite their disguises as mountain bandits and their concealed identities, are certainly not typical mountain bandits. Genuine mountain bandits lack the coordination and training we just witnessed. These individuals possess highly disciplined skills, suggesting systematic and prolonged training. It's unlikely that common mountain bandits could achieve this level of proficiency. I suspect their background. There was a significant likelihood, around 80% to 90%, that they were dispatched by one of the princes, with the fourth prince being the prime suspect. However, lacking concrete evidence, Sunbai refrained from making baseless accusations. Xiao Yunduan nodded and replied thoughtfully, I anticipated this would occur, and their presence reassures me. Nevertheless, I have a strong sense they won't give up easily. We must remain vigilant. Instruct them to maintain heightened patrols, and to report any suspicious activity to me immediately. Understood, my lord. Sunbai and Sun Qian nodded gravely, sharing Xiao Yunduan's sentiments. This was merely the beginning, not the conclusion. Each of the princes harbored deep-seated animosities against the crown prince, and the opportunity to undermine his standing was too tempting to resist. Whether it was solely the fourth prince or if other princes were involved remained unclear. As the crown prince, Xiao Yunduan was under constant scrutiny. He was cautious with his words and actions, refraining from making confrontational statements against his brothers to avoid tarnishing his reputation. This cautious approach allowed his siblings to accrue more power over time. Their organization boasted a substantial number of individuals under their command. Having already initiated action, they couldn't simply abandon their efforts. It was evident, though, that after the considerable delay, they wouldn't be able to exit the Black Pine Forest before nightfall, which further heightened everyone's anxiety. Xiao Yunduan remained unperturbed, calmly suggesting, we might as well limit our travels for the day. Once we cross this rocky slope, we can find a suitable spot to spend the night. With our large group, we need to be cautious. In a way, the forest's intricate environment serves as a form of protection for us. Witnessing his composed demeanor, the group found some solace and concurred with his decision. Xiao Yunduan boarded Qiao Xian's carriage and transferred Li Xia and 2 others to his own. His wife had likely been quite alarmed and needed his presence for comfort. Drawing the curtain, the carriage started to move at a leisurely pace. Xiao Yunduan took Qiao Xian into his arms, sitting her on his lap, gently reassuring her. Qiao Xian's heart warmed with a mixture of emotions, leaving her uncertain whether to laugh or cry. Nevertheless, she felt a sense of pride within herself, understanding the importance of demonstrating her courage and composure to her husband. Xiao Yunduan, seeing her unshaken demeanor, found immense relief. Throughout the journey, everyone remained on high alert, and eventually traversed the rocky slope. After covering less than 3 miles, they halted and set up camp. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1472. Wolfpack. The scout relayed that they were still about 16 to 17 miles away from the Black Tiger Forest, a distance that would require at least half a day of walking. Upon careful consideration, Sunbai, Sun Qian, and the others selected a location within the woods to set up an overnight camp. They diligently cleared the area of underbrush, securing the horses to tree trunks, and forming a protective ring with the carriages on the outer perimeter. They organized 4 rotating groups, each consisting of 36 individuals, to take turns patrolling during the night. The rest of the group were instructed to remain in their armor and not to remove it, maintaining a state of perpetual vigilance. As the sun slowly dipped below the western horizon, the evening glow faded, plunging the forest into deep darkness. The towering trees, rocks, and their shadowy silhouettes took on an eerie quality, exacerbated by sporadic sounds of flapping wings and eerie calls from birds, causing shivers down their spines. Their superior numbers provided some reassurance because if only a few individuals were to remain alone in this forest at night, the fear might have been paralyzing. To combat the darkness, they lit 3 large bonfires to illuminate the area. The night watchmen were responsible for ensuring the fires remained ablaze. In the moonless and pitch-black forest, the night offered no lunar illumination, making it an exceptionally dim night. On this particular night, Qiao Xian refrained from using her power to survey the surroundings. Her powers consumed significantly more energy during the night compared to daylight hours. Furthermore, she believed that the assailants would not return so promptly after their initial encounter. If they did, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and the others had taken thorough precautions, leaving little room for concern. As anticipated, the night passed without any disturbances from the attackers, but they faced a different threat, a pack of wolves. Over 100 adult gray wolves, howling in the middle of the night, aggressively descended upon their camp. It seemed as though the wolves cared not for their own lives. Driven by an insatiable aggression, a sudden sense of alarm rippled through the camp, instantly thrusting everyone into a heightened state of vigilance. Qiao Xian swiftly employed her superpower to assess the situation, and thankfully, she detected only a pack of wolves with no human presence trailing them. These wolves exhibited highly unusual behavior, suggesting they might have been drugged with some sort of stimulant. Their ferocious howls and reckless charges threw the camp's guards into disarray, and several of them sustained bites. Under the coordinated command of Sun Bai and Sun Qian, the group eventually repelled the wolf pack after approximately an hour of intense combat. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the camp. They ignited torches to survey the scene and treat the wounded. Numerous ordinary followers were deeply shaken, huddled together in pairs or trios, consoling one another through sobs and discussions. Among the distressed individuals, one woman's screams and cries pierced the night, distinguishing her from the rest. While others cried quietly, she wept with such intensity that she seemed on the brink of screaming to the heavens. This woman was none other than Xiao Wei. During this tumultuous moment, Xiao Yinduan had gone to confer with Sun Bai and Sun Qian. Xiao Xian took it upon herself to console the frightened individuals, assess injuries, and instruct Li Xia and Li Qiao to prepare the necessary medicines. Upon hearing Qiao Wei's anguished cries, Xiao Xian furrowed her brow and summoned Mian Mian, saying, "Let's go see what's happening." Mian Mian acknowledged the command, and Yi swiftly trailed behind. When they arrived at the scene, a crowd had gathered around Xiao Wei. As Xiao Xian approached, the crowd dispersed, making way for her. "Madam Xiao, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1473. Qiao Wei injured. Xiao Xian nodded and directed her gaze towards Qiao Wei, who clutched her injured calf. "What happened?" Qiao Wei shot her an angry glare and retorted icily, "Can't you see for yourself? I'm injured." Xiao Xian gave an incredulous glance to those present. "You may leave now, lend your assistance wherever necessary, and retire to rest once you're finished. We still have a morning journey ahead of us." Initially, no one harbored a fondness for Qiao Wei, but upon hearing this, they concurred and dispersed, leaving only Qiao He behind. Qiao Wei seethed with anger, casting a hateful glare in Xiao Xian's direction. Xiao Xian sneered, "Why are you staring at me? Return to your tent if you have the time. You're not the sole person injured, and yet, you're the only one making a scene. Miss Qiao, are you concerned that others might not notice your fine singing voice?" Qiao Wei's face flushed with anger, and she snapped, "I was bitten by a wolf on my leg. I was bitten by a wolf. Observe it for yourself." The wolf's bite had nearly frightened her to death, and her leg had bled profusely. At the time, she believed she might face death or be left with a permanent injury. Fortunately, the two guards managed to eliminate the wolf in time. Despite this, the wound on her leg remained substantial, causing excruciating pain that left her incapable of withholding her cries. Xiao Xian was taken aback and shifted her gaze to Qiao Wei's leg. She observed the blood staining her dress. The darkness of the night obscured the wound, which Xiao Xian wouldn't have noticed without Qiao Wei's remark. Qiao Wei's sobbing grew louder. Xiao Xian cast a stern look at Qiao He and spoke coldly. "Your mistress is injured, yet you stand here motionless? How callous. In that case you needn't serve her any longer. Leave." "Madam Xiao, What, am I not entitled to give you orders? Qiao Xian, do not overstep your bounds. Qiao Wei rebuked angrily. He is my servant, and you have no right to shout at him. I can't give her orders? So what? Qiao Xian scoffed and turned to Yi. Take her away and teach her a lesson. Yes, madam. Yi, who consistently followed Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan's directives, promptly led Qiao He away. Miss. Enough. Qiao Xian delivered a resounding slap to Qiao He's face, her voice sharp. What's the matter? Can't I issue commands to you? You're nothing more than a servant. From where did you acquire such impertinence? How dare you look down on me? By what right? Do you think I will tolerate it? Qiao He, covering her stinging cheek, felt an overwhelming mix of humiliation and anger. She lowered her head and refrained from making any further noise. With no alternative, she bowed her head because she served Qiao Wei. Qiao Xian was prepared to scold her and even strike her, leaving her with no room to resist. Qiao Wei stood in stunned silence, quivering with rage. Were it not for her excruciating leg pain rendering her immobile, she would have risen to confront Qiao Xian in a brawl. No one treated others in such a degrading manner. What's the meaning of this? In merely providing your insubordinate servant with a lesson, Qiao Xian jeered. There's no need to thank me. Yi, escort her away. Yes, let's go. This time, Qiao He didn't dare to resist, and cast a desperate plea towards Qiao Wei. However, Qiao Wei merely fixed a glare on Qiao Xian, and chose not to utter a word. She was well aware that Qiao Xian had no intention of giving her any face. Would saying anything change Qiao Xian's mind? Qiao Xian was merely seizing an opportunity to ridicule her. Why should she demean herself? Why hadn't this wretched woman been eliminated during the daytime assassination? The attackers were completely inept. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1474. On purpose, Qiao Xian instructed Mian Mian, retrieve the medicine. With her back turned to Qiao Wei, she whispered something to Mian Mian, who nodded and quickly departed. Before long, Mian Mian returned with the necessary medical supplies. Qiao Xian then directed Li Xia and Li Qiao to assist her in applying the medicine and bandaging Qiao Wei's wound. Afterward, she instructed two maids to remain with Qiao Wei, ensuring they didn't leave her side for even a moment. Qiao Wei displayed no gratitude toward Qiao Xian. She merely glared at her and allowed the two maids to escort her away. With time, the commotion subsided, and the camp gradually grew quieter as everyone took the opportunity to rest. Shortly thereafter, Xiao Yunduan returned to their tent, shared by him and Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian addressed him. Husband, I believe I've discerned why they placed Qiao Wei in this group. Xiao Yunduan was taken aback. After Qiao He was led away by Yi, Mian Mian promptly followed, and inquired about the medicine for external injuries. After Yi provided the information, she hurried away again. Yi didn't escort Qiao He elsewhere. Instead, he suddenly kicked her from behind, hitting the back of her knee joint. Caught off guard, Qiao He emitted a pained groan and tumbled to the ground. Her vision darkened, and tears welled up instantly. Suppressing the pain in her chest, she clenched her teeth and lowered her head. Madam has instructed you to kneel here without moving. You'll remain kneeling throughout the night. Should I catch you slacking off, you'll continue kneeling the following night, and the one after that. Gritting her teeth, Qiao He retorted. Madam has gone too far. I still need to return to serve our Mississippi. Yi snorted and maintained his silent vigil, eyeing her intently. However, his silence did not signify agreement with her words. Qiao He seethed internally, cursing the peculiar individuals surrounding Qiao Xian. Especially Yi, who appeared foolish and guileless, as though he were easy to deceive, when in fact he was anything but. Yi couldn't be bothered to engage with them. Even when they tried to strike up conversations with him, he remained utterly silent, no matter what they said. This time it was no different. Her vehement protests seemed to fall on deaf ears, as if they had automatically muted themselves. Nonetheless, Qiao He was well aware that if she dared to make a move, he would unquestionably kick her again. Suppressing her fury, Qiao deliberately adopted a pitiable countenance. She lifted her head to gaze at Ai. My leg is wounded. Could you please provide me with some external injury medicine for treatment? Ai glanced at her, but continued to maintain his silence. Qiao put on a forced smile. I have no choice but to heed Madame Xiao's directive. I'll apply the medicine and accept my punishment. As she struggled to rise, Ai raised his foot. Attempt to move. Qiao couldn't take it any longer. Her knees turned weak, causing her to tumble heavily onto the rugged ground once more. Her vision dimmed, and tears nearly welled up again. Is Madame truly so heartless? My legs will be ruined if I continue kneeling like this throughout the night. Ai remained unmoved, silently thinking to himself, you deserve to have your legs ruined. A servant like you remained unscathed while your mistress got hurt. How would you complain once I've maimed your leg? It was only fair. Ai kept his gaze fixed on Qiao until the entire area was tidied up before returning to his rest. Prior to departing, he didn't neglect to issue a threat. Don't move or else humph. Qiao seethed with resentment. Following Ai's departure, although she didn't dare to leave, she promptly seated herself on the ground. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1475. Torment. Qiao gently massaged her knee, feeling the pain intensifying. Undoubtedly, her external injury was not trivial. However, she didn't have any medical supplies on her, but there was some external injury medicine in the carriage. Qiao scanned her surroundings and signaled a guard to approach. She beseechingly asked for some external injury medicine. The guard glanced at her and tossed a bottle of medicine her way. Overflowing with gratitude, Qiao hastily applied the medicine. The mountain night was chilly, with temperatures a few degrees lower than elsewhere due to the extensive forest. Qiao trembled as she discreetly requested an additional cloak. Though not as cozy as being wrapped in tense blankets, it would at least provide some defense against the cold shivering. She remained huddled in a ball throughout the night. The following morning, she was jolted awake by a sudden, searing pain. Ai had kicked her wounded leg. In a daze, she yelped and snapped awake. You, Ai declared. Madame ordered you to kneel throughout the night as a punishment for your negligence. Is this how you regard Madame's commands? You don't seem to take Madame seriously at all. I'm wounded and it's cold here. I dozed off because I wasn't vigilant. Please have mercy. Qiao knew that her wound must have reopened. Even if it was just a superficial wound, she couldn't predict how many days of torment lay ahead. Nevertheless, she was the one at fault and couldn't afford to challenge Ai in any way. All she could do was admit her mistake. Her humiliation was quite profound. Ai uttered, Madame expects you to return to your mistress. She anticipated your dishonesty and instructed you not to apply any more medicine or to take any. Kneel obediently in the carriage. If you defy her once more, it'll shatter your legs. Qiao was stunned, her scalp prickling in apprehension. If Ai stated that he would break her leg, he would undoubtedly follow through with it. He wasn't one to be careless in his threats. Understood. Qiao hobbled toward the carriage, feeling miserable. Each step she took was filled with excruciating pain. She privately cursed Ai for being exceedingly ruthless. In her current condition, she couldn't help but wonder how long it would take her to recover. Upon her return to the carriage, she was surprised to see two maidservants attending to Qiao Wei. Frowning, she said, Our miss doesn't need you to serve her. Please. The two maidservants exchanged glances, but remained unmoved. Madame Xiao instructed us to be here. Yes, Madame Xiao emphasized that we must not leave without her consent. Qiao seethed and glanced at Qiao Wei. Qiao Wei furrowed her brows slightly, but said nothing. Qiao was clearly limping, and in no condition to take care of herself. Her leg had yet to heal. Bearing her anger, Qiao eventually climbed into the carriage, her wounds screaming with pain. She allowed the two maidservants to help her, but they paid her no mind. Instead, they confidently stated, Madame Qiao sent us here to look after Miss Qiao. They were not here to serve her. Qiao was seething with fury. Early in the morning, everyone continued their journey at a slow pace. Regardless of Qiao's pleas for assistance, the two maidservants paid her no heed. Instead, they began to supervise her, insisting that she kneel and accept her punishment. Qiao, she finally comprehended how Qiao Wei had felt when Qiao Xian had constantly scolded her. It was deeply frustrating, but she had no choice but to endure it. Qiao responded indifferently, feigning as though they no longer existed. It was just kneeling after all. She would endure it. She knelt for a prolonged period. Having endured the torment outside throughout the night, she had caught a cold and suffered the effects of IS kicks. Her external injuries were substantial. Moreover, she couldn't pretend to kneel under the watchful eyes of the two maidservants. In less than half a day she fainted. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1476. Can't understand. By the time Qiao slowly woke up, half a day had passed. The entire team had already walked out of the Black Tiger Forest. Qiao Xian asked Yi to pass the message, saying that she was going to show her some mercy, so she did not need to kneel down. Qiao gritted her teeth and thanked her. At this moment, her legs were already aching and numb, and she had almost lost consciousness. Her head was dizzy, and her body felt cold and hot. It was extremely uncomfortable. However, the two maidservants acted as if they did not see anything and refused to even pour her a cup of hot water. Qiao was angry and hateful, so she could only endure it. Deep down inside her heart, she could not help but wonder what she had done to offend Madame Qiao. It was not enough for her to make trouble with Qiao Wei. Why did she make trouble with her, the maid? It could only be said that Madame Qiao was too free. Either she was frightened and deliberately took it out on them. The group of people finally left the Black Tiger Forest safely. All of them were energized and heaved a sigh of relief. The primordial old lady in the forest was lush and gave off a strong sense of oppression. Everyone wished that they could get as far away from it as possible. After walking out, they only took a short rest and ate something before immediately starting their journey again. Only half a day had passed. They could still walk for another half a day. This road was much easier to walk. They could walk far in half a day. After the discussion, Sun Bai and Sun Qian reported to Xiao Yunduan and suggested that they should keep a steady pace for the next few days. There's clearly something wrong with those gray wolves in the middle of the night. I don't dare to say if everyone will be able to sleep peacefully every night in the future. At night, they won't be able to sleep well. If they're in a hurry to travel during the day, even someone made of iron won't be able to last for more than a few days. If any negligence is caused, the consequences will be unimaginable. They all remembered that the wolf pack was the only one who attacked in the middle of the night yesterday. There was no one. In the battle in the morning yesterday, more than half of the other party had escaped. At this moment, they did not know where they were hiding, waiting for them to kill their way out when they were tired and negligent. Xiao Yunduan nodded. You are right. According to the normal schedule, we will reach Huning City in almost 20 days, right? If we travel at full speed, we will need about half a month. There is no need to fight for these days. If you don't have a good night's rest, you should slow down. You just need to return to Huning City within a month. Everyone was tired yesterday and didn't rest well at night. Pass down the order to camp early today. I have something to say then. Xiao Yunduan took a look at the two of them and praised them inwardly. They were indeed the elites of the prince's mansion. They were very thorough and timely. Sun Bai and Sun Qian looked at each other imperceptibly, and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. They hurriedly agreed with cupped fists. What they were most worried about was that Lord Xiao would panic, because of his insecurity. They wanted to speed up and get to Huning City as soon as possible. Everyone knew that as long as they reached Huning City, they would be much safer. Many people in the team had already expressed this intention. They couldn't wait to look like they could endure no matter how difficult or tiring the journey was, as long as they could leave this place early. However, more haste, less speed meant more danger. Hence, they only rushed for about 2.5 hours in the afternoon. When they arrived at a place that Sun Bai and Sun Qian felt was suitable for them to camp for the night, they ordered the entire team to stop. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1477. Slow down. As expected, this attracted a lot of dissatisfaction. What? It stopped just like that? Yes, it's too early. It's still early. We can walk for at least another 3 hours. Wouldn't it be better to speed up and go home as soon as possible? Yeah. Xiao Yunduan gathered everyone together. He was not sure if there were any spies of the fourth prince here. So Xiao Yunduan did not tell them the truth. He just said that it was better to stop and take a rest to prevent them from getting tired. It would be easier for them to travel if they had enough energy. Most of the people could not accept this reason. Xiao Yunduan had always been a gentle man, and his eagerness to go home had emboldened them. Some people could not help but raise their heads, and many people agreed with them, asking them to hurry up. Xiao Yunduan consoled them patiently, saying that it was for everyone's own good, so that they could have a good rest, so that they would not feel uncomfortable on the road. There was no need to worry. Sun Bai and Sun Qian did not say a word. They stood there with indifferent expressions, but in fact, they were watching coldly from the side. Their shrewd eyes swept across everyone without batting an eyelid. From today onwards, those who spoke the most actively and were the most provocative would be watched by their trusted aides. Xiao Yunduan was going to cooperate with Sun Bai and Sun Qian, so he talked with them for a long time. When Sun Bai and Sun Qian signaled him with their eyes, he turned serious and said in a low voice, "I am responsible for you, and I don't want you to come back to Huning City with a dirty face. That is unacceptable. I have made up my mind. Don't say anything more. Hurry up and go to work. Set up camp early to cook and rest early. Everyone disperse." With that, he turned around and left without caring if they had anything else to say. Everyone looked at each other, and could only leave dejectedly or unhappily. They went to work. Qiao Xian was waiting for Xiao Yunduan with a smile. They looked at each other and smiled. Xiao Yunduan was very pleased. He took her hand and said softly, "It will take a long time on the way. You look like you are in danger, but in fact, you are saving your strength in case you are attacked. Don't worry, my wife. I have arranged everything." Qiao Xian nodded with a smile. "Husband, you don't have to explain to me. You have your own reasons." Xiao Yunduan smiled. How nice it would be if everyone was as reasonable as his wife. In the middle of the night, another crazed wolf pack came to harass them. This time, there were not so many, only 20. Even so, in the middle of the night, it caused a huge commotion in the camp. Fortunately, there were no casualties. The next day, they still found a suitable place to set up camp early in the morning. That night, they did not encounter any more accidents. However, there were crazy wolf packs attacking at night for 2 consecutive nights. Everyone subconsciously became vigilant and felt that they would come tonight, so they did not dare to fall asleep at night. On the night of the 3rd day, Qiao Xian secretly used her superpower and extended it to 5 miles away from the camp. That night, more than 10 wolves tried to attack the camp. But before they got close, Qiao Xian used her power to mutate the vines and strangled them all to death. It was not that she was cruel, but she had no choice. Although the grassland was vast, the number of wolves in each area was limited. The wolf pack and the wolf pack each had their own territory, so they would not easily cross the line. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1478. Superpower. It was impossible for the other party to always find so many wolves to cause trouble. The fact that there were fewer of them each time was a good indication of the truth. If there were more tomorrow night or the night after, it would definitely be even less. Moreover, in a few days there would definitely not be any more. That night, Everyone finally had a good night's sleep. They were full of energy, and they finally felt more at ease as they chatted and laughed. It seemed like the other party had run out of tricks. Qiao Xian was exhausted at night, so she was very sleepy during the day. At first, Xiao Yinduan thought that something was wrong with her, so he was worried and anxious. But then she said with a smile that she did not sleep well at night, and that she just needed to get some sleep in during the day. Then Xiao Yinduan asked the accompanying doctor to check her pulse. It turned out that she was indeed tired and not in good spirits, so he did not insist. Qiao Xian slept for half a day in the wagon, and finally got over it. When they were about to reach their camp in the afternoon, they were much more energetic. Seeing this, Li Xia smiled and said, "Madam looks much more energetic now. Mian Mian, quickly go and tell the adults. Don't let Lord worry." Mian Mian smiled and agreed. She ordered the carriage to slow down and jumped down. Qiao Xian was not able to stop them, so she said helplessly, "That is not necessary. You are just messing around." Li Xia and Li Qiao covered their mouths and laughed. Li Qiao also smiled and said, "Madam, this was all instructed by the Lord. You went to bed early in the morning. The Lord came over several times and saw that you were sleeping soundly, so he couldn't bear to disturb you. That's why he specially instructed you. The Lord is taking good care of you, madam." True. Qiao Xian got slightly startled. So she had slept for so long? She only knew that she had a very deep and comfortable sleep, but she had not expected that she would fall asleep during the whole day. A few moments later, Xiao Yinduan rode a horse over and called her through the curtain. Qiao Xian lifted the curtain and smiled at him. "Husband." Xiao Yinduan smiled and looked at her up and down. "You look much more energetic. You must be tired." As she spoke, she felt a little guilty. Over the past few days, she had probably been frightened a lot. Although she did not show it on her face, when he comforted her, she was still smiling and comforting him instead. However, how could he not be afraid? Xiao Yunduan sighed inwardly. Thinking about how there were still so many days to go, he couldn't help but say some comforting words. They chatted for a while, and Xiao Yunduan left when someone came to look for him. After traveling for less than half an hour, they stopped and set up camp. At this time, it was about 4 in the afternoon. In this place where the sky turned dark much later than in the capital, there were at least 4 hours before it turned dark. Qiao Xian was full of energy and felt refreshed, so she went to find trouble with Qiao Wei. Qiao Wei's injury had been tampered with by Qiao Xian, and she was recovering very slowly. Qiao He's leg had been kicked by Yi, and the medicine was not very effective either. These days, the two of them had been very low-key and kept a low profile. As soon as Qiao Xian arrived, Qiao Wei got startled and stared at her. Qiao Xian snorted. "I am just here to see how Miss Qiao is doing. Please get well, or we will be dragged down." "And you didn't do it on purpose, right?" "You." The veins on Qiao Wei's forehead throbbed as she gritted her teeth. "Qiao Xian, don't push me too far. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1479. Too surprising. Qiao Xian did not care about what she said, so she made a fuss for a while before leaving. Qiao Wei wanted to curse, but when she saw the two maids in the carriage, she gritted her teeth and almost vomited blood. That night, just as Qiao Xian had expected, less than 10 wolves were released to cause trouble. It seemed that they had a very clear purpose. The result of the attack was not important. What was important was to harass them and not let them live in peace. Unfortunately, they had miscalculated Rui's plan. Those few wolves were killed by Qiao Xian when they were still 5 miles away. After finishing the work that night, Qiao Xian found that she was not as tired as last night. It had something to do with the fact that there were not many wolves tonight. Maybe it was because she had used too much last night, which was also a stimulation for her power, making it more solid. Another safe and sound night passed. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. They felt that the other party must have given up after realizing that there was no opportunity to take advantage of them no matter what they did. The atmosphere in the entire camp became much more relaxed and light. Sun Bai and Sun Qian did not dare to be negligent. They ordered their trusted subordinates to pass down the order. They still had to be careful and vigilant. It was impossible for the fourth prince to only have this little trick up his sleeve. What they did not know was that in another place in the grassland, a group of people looked at the row of wolf corpses on the ground in front of them. Their expressions were solemn as they fell into deep shock and contemplation. It was the same for both knights. Before these wolves could reach the other party's camp, they were all dead. There was not a single wound on his body. All of them were suffocated to death by the neck. How was this possible? This was a wolf, not some harmless little animal. Moreover, they had fed them medicine that would make them irritable and irrational. If they wanted to kill them, they could only fight them head-on. No one could strangle them so neatly. However, such a thing had really happened. There were more than 30 of them, so there was no way they could be wrong. What the hell is going on? Strange, too strange. This. How did they do it? What kind of method is this? It's too terrifying. The group of people were bewildered. They discussed and discussed, but in the end, they could not come to a conclusion. They did not believe it. They still had the last group of wolves that they had hired someone to capture. There were 36 of them. They had originally planned to release them 3 nights later to harass them, but now they had changed their minds. They would release them all that night and send 7 people to follow them to investigate. They had to find out what was going on. So this night, Qiao Xian not only found the wolves, but also the people following them. Those people must have realized that those wolves had died abnormally. They wanted to see clearly. Fortunately, only 7 people came. It was obviously impossible for 7 people to keep an eye on more than 30 wolves. Qiao Xian's superpower had reached a level where she could control her power freely. Also, it was very dark at night, and the grass was very lush at this time of the year. She could always choose their blind spots to attack, and soon, 7 or 8 wolves died silently. When someone noticed the dead wolves and ran over to take a look, the others joined them as well. While they were looking at each other, Qiao Xian took the opportunity to strike, using her superpower to take down another 7 or 8 wolves before they could see them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1480. It happened again. She repeated the same method 2 or 3 times. When the 7 people were dizzy, bewildered, and unable to look around in time, the 36 wolves had already suffocated to death. They silently lay in various postures in the grass. Under the bleak night sky, a cold wind blew, and the weeds rustled. A bone-piercing chill rose from under their feet, making one's hair stand on end. Ghost! There's a ghost! One of them let out a shrill cry and screamed as he turned around and ran. The other 6 were already frightened by this strange scene. With someone taking the lead, everyone's mentality immediately collapsed. One after another, they just turned around and ran in panic. How was this still a shadow guard assassin with strong martial arts skills? They were just in a sorry state. Qiao Xian snickered inwardly. She immediately activated her power and wanted to kill all 7 of them. She did not dare to kill them, but these bastards were not good people. They could at least be half crippled. But these people were not weak, so they ran away as fast as lightning. Qiao Xian did not manage to catch all of them, so she only caught the 2 people who were the last. The 2 of them were caught by the grass and fell to the ground. In their shock, they wanted to get up and continue running, but they could not get up no matter what. The grass wrapped around their feet became tighter and tighter, so tight that it was almost into their flesh. The 2 of them were both experts in martial arts, and could easily break the necks of others. However, at this moment, they were wrapped by the weeds and could not break free. They had just witnessed such a strange scene. Now that they had encountered such a situation, the 2 of them were frightened out of their wits. They tore open their throats and screamed, "Help! Help!" Then, their eyes rolled back, and they actually fainted from fear. After dawn, the other party's group came searching. When they saw the wolf corpses all over the ground, they were all speechless. When they found the 2 of them, they checked their breathing and found that they were still breathing. They were overjoyed and quickly saved them. They were still hoping to get something out of them. Unexpectedly, the two of them were still filled with fear when they woke up. They did not know anything. They really did not know. It must be a ghost. A ghost grabbed my foot. I couldn't break free no matter how hard I struggled. It must be a ghost. It's too scary, too scary. One of them was mumbling incoherently, while the other was so frightened that his eyes were frozen. When he heard these words, his face instantly turned pale, and he screamed with fear in his eyes. He had obviously gone crazy. When everyone looked at the two of them again, their legs were already crippled. Moreover, their mental state was abnormal. Everyone looked at each other, especially those who had personally experienced that strange thing last night. Their eyes were filled with fear, and their hearts were filled with sorrow. Almost, they would also become like this. Lord, what should we do? What kind of demon, fey, demonic spirit technique is this? What kind of demon technique is this? No matter what it is, Everyone fell silent, and the air became suffocating. Yes, no matter what it was, they could not resist it. How were they supposed to continue playing like this? Were they really going to die one by one? Fear rose in everyone's hearts, and they all wanted to retreat. The hesitation in the leader's eyes only lasted for a short moment. He sneered and said, I don't know what unorthodox methods they used, but their goal has clearly been achieved. Look at all of you. What are you afraid of? Don't forget what we're here for. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1481. Discovered again. Remember Master's warnings before we embarked? Can't say you're ignorant of Master's temperament. Heads hung in solemn agreement as the leader continued, shedding light on the mysterious wolf deaths. The wolves were drugged by us, but they outsmarted us. Planted medicine outside their camp, and the wolves succumbed. Relief washed over the group as they nodded, finding clarity in the explanation. As for those two, they were likely captured and had their wills crushed, left behind to sow panic. Your reactions played right into their hands. A collective sense of shame settled among them. The leader's cold smile cut through. Don't buy into their schemes. Prepare yourselves. Tonight we infiltrate and eliminate Qiao. Yes. That night over 30 people stealthily approached Qiao, Xiao Yinduan, and the others. However, Qiao detected them 5 miles away. With time being of the essence, Qiao couldn't afford to let her guard down. Sleep during the day, vigilance at night. Every moment counted. Surprisingly, her superpower became more potent and concentrated with each stimulation. A delightful revelation amidst the tension. Tonight, a substantial number of skilled individuals, clad in nocturnal attire, silently moved with expertise. Their potential intrusion posed unimaginable consequences. Qiao, however, smirked internally. Without hesitation, she employed her superpower, setting the campstones in motion, causing grass and leaves to tremble violently. This anomaly swiftly captured the attention of patrolling guards. Birds resting in the distance took flight, their alarmed cries piercing the night air. Chilled to the bone, the guards shouted, "Be on guard! Be on guard!" The would-be assassins, brimming with killing intent and set on catching their targets off guard, seethed with anger as their vision darkened. Curses filled the air. Bastard! Bastard! Boss, what now? Should we press on? Why bother advancing? The leader spat hatefully. We've alerted them. No chance of victory, no chance of success. Retreat. Yes. Exposure was no longer a concern. Abandoning stealth, the group hastily reversed course. Sun Bai and his men pursued, but it was too late. Regrettably, they had to relent. In a concealed location, over 30 individuals in night clothes, some standing, some sitting, wore grim expressions. Unease spread among them as they exchanged furtive glances. Something was amiss. It felt as if the other party had divine intervention. Despite their efforts to conceal traces during the ambush and the sneak attack, they inexplicably triggered the nesting birds, causing a chaotic disturbance and thwarting their plan. The inexplicable turn of events left them thoroughly disheartened. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1482. Could there be a spy? They were all elite individuals handpicked by the fourth prince, capable of taking on 10 opponents solo. Whether in martial arts or strategic thinking, they excelled. Even if the other party's defenses were as impenetrable as an iron bucket, the likelihood of infiltrating and assassinating them was still remarkably high. Yet, before they could make a move, an unexpected incident occurred. How could they reconcile with such a turn of events? This was a level of frustration they had never experienced before. Boss, could there be a spy among us? How else could this be so coincidental? The mere suggestion sent shockwaves through the group. The revelation hung in the air, prompting furtive glances and silent suspicions among them. Each member couldn't help but wonder if someone among them was a double agent. The leader felt a chill in his heart, eyeing everyone with suspicion. He was not one to believe in chance or luck, and the idea of a traitor seemed to provide a more plausible explanation. Yet, identifying the mole was no easy task. None of them appeared to be a likely suspect. Despite being trusted aides of His Highness, the unpredictability of the human heart left room for doubt. If there's no evidence, refrain from baseless accusations, the leader warned. Though internally he pondered, could the accuser be deflecting attention from their own guilt? Despite the suspicion, immediate action seemed inappropriate. The priority now was to uncover the mole. Amidst the tension, the atmosphere suddenly shifted to calmness, surprising Xiao Yunduan, Sun Bai, and Sun Qian. This time, they were genuinely stunned, struggling to grasp the meaning behind the other party's actions. Even the experienced Sun Bai and Sun Qian found themselves bewildered. The only certainty amidst the confusion was the assurance of sufficient rest time. With that, the pace of their journey could be accelerated. Yet, vigilance remained paramount, especially during the night. Careful selection of safe resting places was imperative. The plan had undergone a drastic change. What was initially estimated to be a cautious month-long journey was now shortened by 6 to 7 days, adding a layer of torment to their stay in this desolate, dangerous foreign land. The return to Huning City was imminent, slated for no more than 3 days according to the revised itinerary. The anticipation lifted spirits, infusing the group with newfound energy as they hurried forward. Each evening, during their camp setups and rests, small groups convened to passionately discuss plans for their return to Huning City. The prospect of relaxation and rest fueled their eagerness to hasten the journey. That night, they camped on a small hill, enjoying a broad field of vision with their backs against a weathered stone wall. As they neared Huning City, the scarcity of trees made ambushes difficult, contributing to a subconscious sense of relaxation. Amidst the eagerness to return home, a lapse in attention became inevitable. Little did they anticipate that their proximity to Huning City would almost lead to their demise on an otherwise ordinary night. Accustomed to extending her superpower's range to 5 miles, Qiao Xian ensured constant vigilance over the surroundings, keeping everyone safe. In the early morning haze, the thunderous sound of approaching horse hooves startled Qiao Xian, prompting her to instinctively retract her superpower. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.